One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
For a long time, I sat between the two graves and wept. The pain I felt was my father's pain. My questions were my brother's questions. Their struggle, my birthright.
Obama has a dream from his father, that the sins of colonialism be set right and America be downsized.
It's been a long time coming, but tonight, because of what we did on this day, in this election, at this defining moment, change has come to America.
America has a dream from our founding fathers, that together we must perfect liberty, and America must grow so liberty grows.
2008, something unbelievable happened for us in the FBI. We were getting lots of rumors about this high-level asset that worked for several intelligence agencies at the same time. He worked for the Saudi intelligence service. He worked for the CIA, and he was being developed as a political asset in Chicago, Illinois. He was not even a United States citizen, but it was said that he was a student visa and that he was a national from another country. In 2008, everyone in the intelligence structure found out who he was. It was this individual whose name I don't like to say, who became president in 2008 of the United States.
And I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States.
the office of President of the United States.
One of his code names was Renegade. His real name was Barry Sortoro, but he adopted a different name for his political career. When they ran him for president, the cabal, basically, this was the culmination of so many of their plans for so many years. His mission was to destroy the United States from within, one institution at a time. One of the things he did, of course, was he defunded our military. He brought down the resources that they got. But then he ordered our military in many, many instances and in various theaters to attack our allies and to defend and supply and help our enemies. We'd just be handing that stuff over to ISIS. And the president's office would say, don't question orders, just follow your orders.
Make a whole movie.
So, welcome to the Sunday evening version of the show. Doing some things different here. I'm taking you back a little bit, back into 2015, 14, 16, and showing you some things because there's a lot of people I have found as we've been uncovering and talking about what has been dropped as a bomb on people by Tulsi Gabbard, that there are a lot of people who don't really understand that this has been an ongoing issue for quite some time. Doesn't mean you're bad, doesn't mean you're misinformed. It means you're a product of today's media. Today's media made sure you didn't know some of this stuff. Today's media ran cover, absolute cover for the Obama administration. If you go back and look, things weren't fantastic in 2007, but once 2008 hit, everything changed. And it changed very fast. In fact, he ran on a platform to, quote, transform America. Little did we know all the transforming that he planned on doing. All of a sudden, there became a huge groundswell of protest and racial division that wasn't there before. And now you're looking at the calendar, 2008, and what you're seeing as we're going forward 17 years, with it now being 2025, with today being the 6-month anniversary of President Trump's inauguration, second inauguration. 17 years. 17 years. I'll say it a third time for some of you guys to go, whoa. 17 years since Obama was president. Donald Trump is now president. If that doesn't give you a little goosebumpy, then the rest of the show might, or it might go over your head. Some of you guys in here can even start talking about the fact that it's been 17 years since Obama was elected president. All of this stuff that we see right now is indicative of what happened in these 17 years. There were kids in 2008 that were born, or maybe 6 or 7 or 8 years old, who didn't know anything about politics, who are now the kids that are running around college campuses doing stupid stuff. The people you see at these protests are products of Barack Obama. I'm not talking about the old white people. They've been around forever. They're useless. I'm talking about the Antifas. I'm talking about all the ones, the Palestinians, all that crap originated from the group of people who were fostered and indoctrinated since Barack Obama got on the scene. If you do the math, when you're looking at these people, you're realizing, oh yeah, about that time, they would have been little kids in grammar school, completely oblivious of what was to come. And then the rest of us were subject to it. And we watched it. Some of us didn't pay very strong attention, but some of us really, really paid attention and saw this entire thing transpire, watched his entire traitorous presidency, and just now in the last 48 hours, the world is finding out. Well, let me take that back. The world that pays attention and is willing to look beyond the television set, that world is finding out. You're not finding out from CNN. You're not finding out from MSNBC. You're not finding out from ABC News. There was one segment on CBS News, and that was to defend Obama. Other than that, complete blackout, which should tell you something. I had posted something earlier, and I said, if there is a blackout, if they're not talking about it, they're scared AF. They are terrified at this point because of what is upon them. That storm that is now upon them, they knew it would be coming. They just didn't know when, and now it's here. And President Trump waited 4 long years. He put together a plan, he put together the people, and now he's executing it. And many people, including Trump supporters, missed what he did on his first couple of days in the office. And I showed you some of those executive orders and presidential actions that he took on day one, 6 months ago. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And nobody really paid attention. And now it's actually happening. So we're going to spend probably, it's a Sunday, so it won't be a 3-hour show, but we're going to be here a while. I've got a lot of stuff to show you. A whole lot, including Tulsi Gabbard's reaffirmation that this is treason. And plus, when she was talking, she dropped a whole lot more nuggets. And I'm going to show you that as well, so make sure you stay tuned and continue, because there's a lot to go over. And then before I get there, I got a couple things that President Trump threw out here today, which you may or may not have seen. One of them, actually both of them are pretty good trolling. The first thing he said was, my statement on the Washington Redskins has totally blown up, but only in a very positive way. Now he's throwing the hammer down here. I may put a restriction on them that if they don't change the name back to the original Washington Redskins and get rid of the ridiculous moniker, the Washington Commanders, I won't make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington. The team would be much more valuable and the deal would be more exciting for everyone. Cleveland should do the same with the Cleveland Indians. The owner of the Cleveland baseball team, Matt Dolan, who is very political, has lost 3 elections in a row because of that ridiculous name change. What he doesn't understand is that if he changed the name back to the Cleveland Indians, he might actually win an election. Indians are being treated very unfairly. Make Indians great again. Full disclosure, my high school team, our mascot, we were the Indians. And then all this stuff happened after Obama, and some knuckleheads in the school where I went to high school said, no, we're going to change our name. We are now going to be called the Lions. At which point I told them, lose my address, lose my phone number. I'm not giving you any more money. We all grew up, everyone who went to that school, we were the Indians. And because of Obama, you even wanted to change our name. Think about all of the things that happened linguistically since Obama was president 17 years ago. How many different words we're no longer allowed to say because someone's fifi or their nipples might be sore if you say something that's going to offend them. You can offend so many people because they were taught to be offended. I was black. I grew up. And once in a while, somebody said the N-word. So if I could get my hands on them, I did what I had to do. If I didn't, I just kept on with my business. It didn't make me just go into a complete contortion and start crying. Every rap song you'd ever want to hear called a woman a, B's and H's. The only reason I'm not saying that word because I don't want to offend any women. But we all heard it. We grew up with it. And now everything that they've done in the linguistic aspect of America has been a nightmare. Yes, there are some bad words we shouldn't call people, but you shouldn't take words out of the English language and have to say newcomer instead of what baby removal. I mean, baby removal because of what it is, because people here don't like you using the word baby remove. I mean, the real word for it. I got to use the word newcomer because they don't like you saying what these people really are. So I applaud President Trump for telling everybody we're done with that too. We're gonna turn things back before Obama, before all the offensivity, if that's a word. became so prominent, we're going to tell you, you're going to be the Washington Redskins, or go build your stadium in Maryland or wherever. And you're not getting any government deals if you continue to placate to this stuff. There's nothing wrong. In fact, down here, here's what's really weird. We live on many, there are Indian reservations everywhere, and they're loaded. When I go to play poker, it's the Seminoles. The Seminole tribe runs the casinos down here. You think they have a problem? So you got the Seminoles, you got the Miccosukees, all these different tribes have made billions down here. So save that stuff. Then he also took a shot, and I have to be careful with this one because of the fact it lists an actual address. Well, it doesn't list the address, but it does list the folio number. I could probably get away with this one. This is pretty good. Adam Schiff is a thief. He should be prosecuted just like they tried to prosecute me and everyone else. The only difference is we were totally innocent. It was all a giant hoax. And basically what Adam did is he did exactly what Letitia James did, and the two of them tried to arrest Donald Trump, but they actually did it. They committed mortgage fraud. And I'll have to move fast past the address, but I'll show you what he actually highlighted here. The mortgage property is our principal residence in Maryland. I'm pretty sure Adam Schiff is a senator from California. So there's no way the house that they bought in Maryland could be his principal residence. It's mortgage fraud. It's absolute mortgage fraud. And it's in black and white. There's no defending this. Whatever the residence requirements are, I'm pretty sure as a senator, you have to represent the state that you live in. You just can't commit mortgage fraud and think it's okay, or that nobody's going to notice. But obviously, nobody did notice, because that was November 4th, 2011. See, our Congress, senators and House people, have done so much illicit stuff between insider trading and mortgage fraud, and everybody just looks the other way. And now President Trump obviously has people looking and seeing what kind of deals and real estate deals these people have done. They deserve it. They deserve everything they put through him. It's retribution time. What did the video say I showed you yesterday? I am your retribution. It's what Donald Trump said. Speaking of mortgage fraud, today's sponsor is Home Title Lock. If you're a homeowner, listen up here. In today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles, and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on a one-page document similar to what I just showed you. They use a fake notary stamp. They pay a small recording fee. And just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Just like that. Seen it often. They then can go take out loans using the equity in your property, or even worse, they can sell the property without you even knowing. You won't even know until it's happened. You won't even know they took out a loan until you get a collection notice or a foreclosure notice, because they're not going to pay. They're going to just take the money that they can get out of the property, and then they're going to skedaddle. So when's the last time you checked on your home title? Most people would say never. You need to do something about it right now. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code Barry at HomeTitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection that's 24/7 monitoring of your title, and you'll get urgent alerts to any changes. And if a fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. So protect yourself. Don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. Go to HomeTitleLock.com and use the promo code Barry. That's HomeTitleLock.com and use the promo code Barry. All right, so some of you guys might be thinking as well, I don't really need it. I don't need to pay for that. No, you don't. You do not have to pay to have your title monitored. You can do it yourself if you know how. But like I've said many times, I know how to cut the grass. I hire somebody. I know how to clean the pool. I hire somebody. So you have to look at it that way. So people who tell you you don't need home title lock, yeah, you may not need it because you can do it yourself if you know how. But if you don't know, home title lock can help you out. All right, so let's get into some more of some past stuff that you may not be aware of.
The Russiagate hoax is all documented.
There was an illusion being created using the most awesome tools and the greatest tricks that the American intelligence community had learned to use against our enemies. Now it was being deployed against the American people and our president.
This is the biggest political scandal in modern history, which makes Watergate look like a tiff.
The FBI director has no credibility.
The left used to not trust the FBI, and now they love them.
This can happen to General Michael T. Flynn. Imagine what they do to anybody who has a single strike against them.
35 Russian diplomats in the U.S. expelled.
The prosecution of General Flynn wasn't a pursuit of criminal activity. It was a setup.
Flynn actually had details. So he was talking about going after people's budgets. They were terrified.
Media didn't start as neutral. Media hasn't been neutral all its life.
The two faces of Hillary Clinton are coming out. The fact through WikiLeaks that she says one thing and
Oh, no.
They worked hand in glove with Comey to try to delegitimize Trump. They were not there to tell the truth.
A political dirty trick is being carried out by our intelligence community.
Honestly, none of us really know, sort of holistically, what to think about this dossier.
They went into Congress. They said, there's nothing here. Doesn't matter. We'll keep going with FISA. We'll keep going with the investigation. And more importantly, we will go on TV day in and day out and lie to the American people to their face. And nothing's going to happen to us.
The nation and all of our freedoms hang by a thread. And the military apparatus of this country is about to be handed over to scum who are beholden to scum. Russian scum.
We had...
Yeah. Those of you who are sports fans probably recognize and remember Keith Olbermann. He used to do very well on ESPN. Yet another thing that they've taken control of since Obama became president 17 years ago. You used to be able to watch Keith Olbermann, and he was so good in calling sports and telling you the results of different things. It was awesome. And then he went nuts. I mean, absolutely, as you just saw, complete nuts. And what you're seeing are clips, by the way, all the way back when this stuff was happening. You're not seeing clips of stuff today. We all knew this. There's plenty of people in the chat and like, well, we all knew this. Everything we're seeing, we knew. Yes, we did. Nobody, including the Republicans, would fight. They wouldn't fight to have this stuff released. They wouldn't fight to get in the trenches and do something about what they were seeing. When you had and joined us with movie night, and we showed the movie The Enemy from Within, and even in 2020, it showed just Sidney Powell, Michael Flynn, Patrick Byrne, 4 or 5 people in the Oval Office, and nobody else was there. They bailed. The entirety of the Republican apparatus bailed on President Trump in 2020, and they bailed on President Trump when this stuff was going on. So don't think for an instant that there are anybody in Congress who's really going to step up and help.
Not one person claimed that they had or had seen evidence of Trump colluding with the Russians.
Devin Nunes was the hero in the forest. He was alone. He was mocked. He was attacked.
Devin Nunes was subject to such scorn for saying the conclusions that we brought forth in that report, which all proved to be true.
Russiagate was a false story.
To target their political opposition.
To carry out their insurance policies.
I believe that this is a conspiracy.
These guys have perpetrated the greatest crime against the American people ever seen. It was.
That should be played over and over and over again. The Democrats, Obama, Clapper, Comey, Brennan, have perpetrated the biggest crime against the United States in history. Say it again, scream it from the rooftops, post it on Facebook, post it on Twitter. Nobody should not understand what has just happened in America. Well, not just happened, that has finally been revealed. This is really scary that the entirety, for the last 17 years, actually, we'll say for the last, 8 or 9 years, nobody has wanted to expose this. Have you asked yourself why? Hey, Barry, you're right. No Republicans really fought for this. Why? Because they didn't want him in the club. As he said many times, I'm just in their way. They want you. The transformation that Obama wanted to do didn't have anything to do with Trump. Trump's got his money. He's good. Trump's got his Mar-a-Lago and he's got his golf courses. He's good. It's you they were coming for. They were going to tax you to death. They're going to do all kinds of things that make you completely imprisoned, whether in reality or in some other type of prison. And nobody did anything. Over and over and over, the Republicans completely waved the white flag. Why? Because they never wanted Donald Trump to win. That was the first thing. Then, after he did win, they're like, this can never happen again, which is why 2020 and all the shenanigans happened there. And in 2016, we need to stop him from being a real part of our club. And so all these people out there who have become brainwashed into thinking he's Nazi and he's fascist and racist, you didn't realize you were part of a giant play. Nothing Shakespeare could ever write would be this good. I've quoted Rush a number of times. Each another's audience. Inside a gilded cage, we're watching a complete orchestrated play that began in 2008. And now it's coming to its final curtain call. Now all this stuff must be revealed, must be constantly talked about, and it has to end up with these people going to jail. And I spoke to you yesterday and I said, it's not like it was before. Many people are like, oh, we're not going to see anything happen. If you see people say that, slap them right away. Nothing happened before because it couldn't happen before. They don't understand. In 2016, the powers that be were not going to let Donald Trump do anything. And then, of course, in 2020, once they did what they did, there was no way that Kamala and Biden were going to let anything happen. So this is now the first time any of this stuff can be addressed. And I'm going to take you through that. I'm going to talk about Mueller, and we're going to talk about, what's the other guy's name? Durham and Bill Barr and all this stuff. He didn't have an opportunity to fight and get it done because they wouldn't let him. And so you have to understand, you have to tell each other when people start thinking there's nothing that's going to happen. Well, number one, it already is. And number two, he didn't have the opportunity before. There was never an opportunity to sink his teeth into what these people have been doing. And now that it's coming out, we're finding it's actually a lot bigger. Let's continue.
Coup d'etat. This is how sick and twisted these people are.
I recently confirmed that on numerous occasions, the intelligence community incidentally collected information about U.S. citizens involved in the Trump transition.
It was shocking to see some of the overclassification that was done to hide either corruption or abuse of authority and just to make sure certain agencies didn't look bad.
We have a peaceful transition of power process. That's not what happened. There were more meetings, there were more leaks, there were more attacks.
The thing that they were investigating the Trump campaign for is what they themselves were doing. Not just the Democratic Party and their operatives, but also the FBI.
If I were writing about the time frame that we lived in and that we're living in now, I would say it wasn't supposed to happen. They weren't supposed to know.
The entire time this was going on, they thought this was going to be what sunk the Donald Trump presidency.
And whether or not there's fire, we need to figure it out. But here is what's important.
Put the investigation into Trump, his associates, and everybody else to one side. There is no denying that the Russians interfered in the election. Right. Whether or not they had willing or unwitting help from the Trump team, they interfered, and they did so to help him and hurt me, and they did so to destabilize our democracy, and they have not stopped. I mean, there's been enough public testimony before Congress now by very distinguished, experienced intelligence professionals who all say the same thing. This is a clear and present danger to our country. Yeah. And I think it's important, and I would say this. If the roles were reversed, if I had won the Electoral College and I were in the White House and the intelligence services, I've served with them, I've worked with them, I've read their analysis, both on the Senate Armed Services Committee and as Secretary of State. You know, they don't always get it right, but these are patriotic, hardworking, dedicated men and women. And if they had come to me and told me, you know, we believe that this election was interfered with, we believe that it was influenced, and we believe they are still trying to get into our systems, I would have stopped at nothing. I would have stood up and in front of the country said, even if it advantaged me, I am not going to rest until we know exactly what happened.
The Steele dossier was in.
So as you watch that, you're looking at a woman, she's a psychopath. She has carried this on for over a decade. And as she was doing that spot on The View, as she was talking to those people, she is so polished. She is so good. She is such an actress. Her lines were fluid. She comes off as being completely authoritative. And she was lying her ass off the entire time. Many of us knew it back then. But because she goes on this television show and they give her millions of dollars of earned media, meaning, you know, she gets to get out there for free and talk and say her crap, to this day they keep bringing her on. They know she's lying, which means they have to be complicit with it. That was The View. So those 5 women up there on that platform who listened to her spew those lies and have said nothing for the better half of 9 years. They're all in on it. Every single one of these so-called liberal news people were in on the cover-up to keep it all quiet. As you heard her say this stuff, she knew she paid for the Steele dossier. She knew all these things were happening. And she probably also knew what happened to some guy named Seth. They all knew, but they were so good and so polished, some better than others. When I would see Comey talk, I would like, oh, he's lying through his teeth. But Brennan, extremely polished. Look you right in the camera, lie right to your face. Even when I heard Clapper talk, he's an old man, he kind of didn't look, you know, as fluid. And then, of course, Obama. What a polished orator he was. Just come in, he's smooth. You know, him and his partner Mike. And they just smiled, and at the same time they're delivering with their forked tongues the assault on America. But nobody in the media even thought for a second to stand up and say stop, which is one of the reasons why I think President Trump's next move is to take down the media. Listen to some of the stuff that was going on back afterwards.
In the congressional record, was it true?
There is not a single substantive piece of information in the dossier that has ever been corroborated by the FBI or, to my knowledge, anyone else.
For the first time, U.S. investigators say that they have corroborated some of the communications detailed in a 35-page dossier compiled by a former British intelligence agent.
U.S. officials tell CNN that last...
Hold on. So you got to know who that guy is. See, one of the problems that people don't know is the incestuous nature of the people reporting the so-called news, and how they either work for the CIA, or they worked here at the State Department, or their wife works here, or their boyfriend works there. And if you start digging into that family tree, a lot of bells and whistles go off. So that's Jim Sciutto, whatever you say his name. And he comes across as Ken. He's delivering the news and lying to your face because he's a part of the deep state. MSNBC, what's the guy's name? Ken Delanian. Again, just say anything. Jennifer Griffith for Fox News. These people make their living obfuscating and putting up smoke screens for the media, knowing full well they're lying to you over and over and over.
This year, the FBI used a dossier of allegations of Russian ties to Donald Trump's campaign as part of the justification to get approval to secretly monitor Trump associate Carter Page.
This afternoon, White House spokesman Sean Spicer said, quote, "We continue to be disgusted by CNN's fake news reporting."
Fake news is what they call any news they don't like.
I have to say, though, that I think you compare the two, that Watergate pales really, in my view, compared to what we're confronting now.
Mr. Steele.
So that was Clapper. And you notice he couldn't look into the camera. He was looking down. He knew he was lying. Anybody interviewing him would have known he was lying. This pales to a comparison to Watergate. Yeah, it does pale in comparison to Watergate. The Watergate is a standard people have used for corruption. They ain't seen nothing yet. This is bigger than 10 times bigger than Epstein. Here's why, because I don't want anyone to have any sort of misconceptions. The Epstein stuff, as heinous as it was, as disgusting, as revolting as it is, were crimes taken against individuals. Whether they're women or boys or girls, those were crimes against individuals. Doesn't mean that they're not bad. I never want people to think that Barry's like, oh, that's not that big. No. What I'm saying, the difference is, this is a crime against America. It's not even on the same level. This is somebody and somebody's working actively to destroy the country. It was a crime against you, a crime against me, your family, your friends. And it's been going on, and it's still going on. They're fighting with tooth and nail. The deep state that he's trying to obliterate are fighting with tooth and nail to make sure they don't lose power. And in doing so, that's why I keep telling you guys, be prepared, because we don't know what comes next. But I can tell you, these people are not going to go down without a fight. They're going to use every weapon in their arsenal. This is not going to be pretty. Not at all. Listen to this guy. I think you recognize him.
Has a very good reputation, is reportedly a former British intelligence officer. I can't confirm that, but is reported to be very well regarded. And I think the key thing from an investigative point of view is not trying to impeach the people who produced the report or commissioned the report, but rather find out whether the facts are true in the report. And when you look at just what has become public, some of the public information is very much in line with what is reported in that dossier. And
we have an idea of...
Probably, arguably, the worst one of them all was Adam Schiff. And if you want to do some homework, go look into his lineage and see who he's tied in with, how much he has to lose, how much his family has to lose. Dig into that, and you'll start seeing the different forces that are involved here. It's really, really deep.
Those Democrats were, how far up this reached, and we have a better idea of how those writing the checks denied it during the campaign. Or, as Maggie Haberman of the New York Times eloquently puts it, folks involved in funding this lied about it, and with sanctimony, for a year.
With respect to the dossier itself, the key thing is, it doesn't matter who paid for it. It's what the dossier said and the extent to which it's corroborated or not.
So this guy goes on CNN, and Aaron Burnett's asking him about who's paying for it. He just looks her in the face and goes, doesn't really matter who paid for it. We got to find out what's going on here. Why did Trump have hookers pee on him? The dossier was completely made up and fake. They knew it. I gotta believe most of the people in the media knew it. They just cashed their checks and shut up. Because they had to fight for the machine. Again, you're seeing stuff right now. These clips are from 7 and 8 years ago. So it's not new. That's why when people say, oh, there's nothing new. The difference is now hopefully people will understand the absolute severity of what's been going on.
Did you tell him that the Steele dossier had been financed by his political opponents?
No, I didn't even think I used the term Steele dossier. I just talked about additional material.
But did he have a right to know that?
That had been financed by his political opponents? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer to that. Hey, listen, these people got some evidence on you. They say you did this and did that. Some of it's really, really awful. I'm sure your wife would love to find out what you did in the room with the hookers, let them pee on you and stuff with golden showers. You don't think that's important for him to know who put this together? Nah.
Wasn't necessary for my goal, which was to alert him that we had this information.
Christopher Steele's dossier and about Christopher Steele. Is he considered reliable according to your sources as an intelligence agent?
Yes.
I got to believe that James Comey might be the head of the spear at this point. When I say that, let me put it this way. I think he'll be the one they really go after. He was too vocal on television. He said too many stupid things. This guy, I think, will be the one they put the screws to. Because it doesn't look like, and probably not being an FBI guy, he's going to want to sit in prison. So he'll be the first one I think would flip like a bird. I really think if they put the screws to Comey, he's done. Because he's the one that was out there talking crap. Him, Brennan, and Clapper. Brennan, I don't know what he'll do. Clapper, he's old. He may flip as well. But Comey, I really think he's done.
You learned that the DNC and Hillary Clinton campaign had funded Christopher Steele's work.
Yeah, I still don't know that for a fact.
What do you mean?
I've only seen it in the media. I never knew exactly which Democrats had funded. I knew it was funded first by Republicans, opposed to Donald.
But that's not true.
It wasn't like when the dossier is handed over to the FBI, they just take it hook, line, and sinker, and, well, case closed. They investigated everything that was in the dossier and corroborated most of it. Is there anything?
See that? See the lies? How easy they were? Allison, I forget her name, used to work on Fox. Then she ended up being on CNN. That incestuous family all just goes together, and they're looking at the camera and telling the people watching, yeah, it was corroborated. Trump did all that stuff. And nobody thinks to say, can you prove it? Who corroborated it? How did they corroborate it? Why was there nothing that showed us that it was corroborated, as they say?
In the dossier that has been disproven?
No, some of it hasn't been proven, and some of it hasn't been. No, I guess the short answer to the question. In the dossier itself, in those 40 or whatever the number of paragraphs, were there some good leads?
Yes, there was a lot of information that we could not.
Now, this is another thing that they did. Notice the guy that Woodward or Bernstein, whichever one this is talking to the guy over there. That guy's Andrew McCabe. Andrew McCabe got booted from the FBI. Then all of a sudden, he showed up all over the place as an expert. The only thing he's an expert in is lying. And then they make it appear like news because Woodward or Bernstein is sitting there asking him questions. And, he built his credibility on Watergate and have since been found out as being a complete quack. And now they're, up there. So what are you thinking? Oh, yeah. And they're all lying. And nobody was pushing back.
We could not disprove.
When did you first learn of the so-called Steele dossier and what Christopher Steele was doing?
It was in late summer of 2016 when there were some individuals from the various U.S. news outlets who asked me about my familiarity with it. And I had heard just snippets about it. I did not know what was in there. I did not.
All right, so as he's talking, I want you to remember who this guy is. Chuck Todd's talking to him in 2019. 3 years after President Trump took office. Well, yeah, 3 years. We'll call it 3 years. Brennan is the head of the CIA. And so you're asking the head of the CIA a question regarding the most crazy document ever seen that alleges that the president was in cahoots with Russia, and he, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? It's your job to know. That's your one job. You're the guy who's supposed to be intelligent. The Central Intelligence Agency. There should never be anything that comes out of your mouth that says, I don't know. It's your job to know. But you did know. Again, they know. I don't want to get caught on camera. Unlike Comey, he's pretty good. Hey, I never said it was. I don't know. Hey.
It until later in that year, I think it was in December, but I was unaware of the provenance of it as well as what was in it, and it did not play any role whatsoever in the intelligence community assessment that was done, that was presented to then President Obama and then President-elect Trump.
What we quickly found out was many of the things represented in the Steele reports were in fact true.
I read it.
Man, this is... You're just watching a movie. And this went on for years. And they could say whatever they want with impunity. And most of you probably have never seen some of these clips. Most of the normies have never seen any of these clips. And they've never seen these clips, if you have seen them, from the perspective of what you know today. Let's continue.
It read very much like it was prepared by a trained intelligence professional. But since it wasn't a CIA document, a CIA or FBI or whatever else, there was no way to dig down and to learn about the accuracy, and validity, and reliability of those sources.
You can go through the dossier and see whether there were statements in there that were untrue. Well, was there anything that indicated to you that it might not? No, nothing.
No. Is there an effort to get a warrant approved without using the dossier?
Yes, my understanding is in the summer they asked DOJ whether they would support moving forward on a warrant application.
And they said no, right?
Correct. That's my understanding from the Horowitz report.
Then you add the dossier, all of a sudden they say yes to the warrant application. Is that a fair statement?
I think it's fair to say that DOJ decided to move forward after the Steele information was part of it.
Sir, I can tell you.
All right, so I'm pretty sure what you're watching right now is going to be evidence moving forward. What you just heard was Lindsey Graham asking Comey how he was able, or how they were able to get these warrants, the FISA warrants, the spy warrants, if you will. And he just said we were able to get the warrants because we used the dossier that we all know was fake. And so Pam Bondi, or whoever's going to be handling the prosecution of this is gold. You're telling me, as the director of the FBI, you had no idea what this document was. You couldn't verify anything, but you gave it to the court to substantiate a warrant. Wait till you find out who signed the warrant, too. That's a whole nother story.
When you look at what happened in the investigation, everything was done by the book. And you can assure yourself and your constituents and everybody you're talking to, when you look at both investigations, notwithstanding what decisions were made at a high level to say something, not say something, when you look at the investigation, what those men and women did, everything was done right and by the book.
There is not a single substantive piece of information in the dossier that has ever been corroborated by the FBI or, to my knowledge, anyone else.
Word for President Obama.
So Durham comes out and says, everything these guys told you is BS. Every bit of the dossier, none of it has been corroborated. Well, it's kind of late now because they already got the FISA warrants and they did all the other stuff. And then you come out afterwards and say, I can't corroborate any of it. But then you have to think back and say, why did all the other stuff happen? And in order to do that, you have to like pull out a flow chart and see all the people who are involved. And then when you pull out that flow chart and see who all the people were involved, then you realize President Trump was trapped. Because the next person in to be the director of the CIA was Gina Haspel. And then Mike Pompeo got up in there. These people had to have known what was going on as they started digging, as they started looking through books, because, President Trump was the president at that point. You got Gina Haspel, you got Mike Pompeo, you guys are all digging through this stuff. And you did nothing. So when people say, I'd like to see people get arrested, but nothing happened, is because these people had to have been in on it as well. It's not just the Democrats. Gina Haspel caused a lot of this stuff to be hidden. Mike Pompeo hid it away. Guess who else hid it away? John Ratcliffe, who's currently the CIA director. Ratcliffe at that point was in Tulsi Gabbard's position. Again, it's all the same faces and names, but see, I think Ratcliffe was I won't say afraid. I don't know him, so I'm not going to call another man afraid. I think Ratcliffe was completely imprisoned. You got Pompeo, you got Gina Haspel, you got Chris Wray, you got Comey, and I think those people told Ratcliffe at the time, you can't do anything about this. But he's a CIA director now, and the difference what you're seeing happen right now is Tulsi Gabbard is flexing muscle never seen by a DNI. Which at the same token, now Congress is trying to limit her power. So they're doing it again. Go look that up. Tom Cotton and his boys are introducing information or different kind of laws to try to limit the power of the DNI. Why would you be doing that right now? Does that make any sense after what we've seen Tulsi do, that now you'd like to limit her power? Why, Tom? Why? Why would you introduce a bill to do that? It's still happening. They're still trying to find a way out of this mess and save their butts. You can't let it happen. We've got them on the run. Listen to this.
We might not have done the intelligence community assessment that we did that set off a whole sequence of events which are still unfolding today. President Obama is responsible for that, and it was he who tasked us to do that intelligence community assessment in the first place.
Reporting side.
Okay. Clapper, your words are coming back to bite you and other people as well. You decided to go on Anderson Cooper and say it was all Obama. Well, that's what Tulsi just said. It's all Obama. But nobody back then wanted to file any charges. You're seeing it play out. And I'm just trying to lay it out for you so you can understand what's been happening if you weren't, a news junkie like I was. Because now you're hearing it and like, what the hell's going on? How did this stuff happen all the way back in 2016 and all this? Well, it's because a lot of people were watching the show and not realizing they were watching a show, including many people on Fox as well. Let's go.
The Washington Post says the president still doesn't accept evidence that Russia interfered and supported him in the election, and those around him know he gets agitated when he even hears about it. The Post spoke with current and former officials who say that his daily briefing is often structured to avoid upsetting him with Russian-related intel only in the written brief and not brought up in person. I talked about that with CNN senior political analyst David Gergen, who was an advisor to Presidents Nixon, Ford, Reagan, and Clinton. David, according to the Washington Post, the idea that the president doesn't even want to hear intelligence about Russia's meddling in the election is a stunning thing, and that briefers have to kind of figure out a workaround is really eye-opening.
It's unique, as far as I can tell, in all of American history. It's an alarming report, Anderson, partly because the Washington Post has interviewed more than 50 people, so it's built up a lot of background, and it's a more solidly built report.
Notice how they slide that in there. The Washington Post, who gave Anderson Cooper his information, says they put together an article that says Trump is being a baby and won't listen to anything about Russia. And it was, basically from 50 different people that we spoke to. These 50 different people say Trump doesn't know what he's doing. These 50 different people say Trump is trying to redo the presidential daily brief. These 50 people. There wasn't 50 people. And then they go on television and they run with it.
Comes out of it is the president, because of his personal insecurities, not wanting to have his election diminished or discredited in some way. If he accepts the conclusion of his intelligence agencies that the Russians meddled, he thinks that's somehow going to diminish him, and he feels very uncomfortable about that, so he pushes it off.
This is something which the entire intelligence community has said, is concerned about. General Michael Hayden, former director of the CIA, says it's the political equivalent, the Russian meddling is the political equivalent of 9/11.
Yes.
The political equivalent of 9/11 is what they equated President Trump, so they say, didn't like to hear the PDB when they were talking about Russia. None of what you just heard is true. None of it. It was all conjecture. Well, Barry, how would you possibly know about it? Because I'm going to show you some documents. Some documents that prove and shall prove in a court that this entire thing was orchestrated. So how is it different now? Because we never had these documents. These actual emails between these people saying, do this, do that. Okay, make sure you cover it with this. Make sure you go ahead and talk to the guys on television and say this and say that. But they had them. These aren't new documents. These are documents that were in place where everybody knew it was BS. I don't want you to think for an instant that everything that Tulsi is revealing is some sort of new document. She's had the ability to go back into the files and start looking and going, you had this? You had this? And you knew this? And you lied? That's why she can say over and over and over it's treasonous, is because she actually has the documents now. Don't ask me how she got her hands on them, but she's got them. It's not supposition. And so as you're hearing this stuff now, looking back into a looking glass of 7 or 8 years ago, you're like, these guys were just going on television and just looking in the camera and making it up as they go. They were told, here's your role, here's your script, go do it. And they did it to the tune of destroying this country and putting people at each other's throats. Because you had the Trump supporters here, and then you had the deep state supporters here. They may not even know they were deep state supporters, but they were. And the guy who was doing all of the direction, like it was Spielberg, was Obama. And so when people say you can't arrest the president, I asked them, were you not around the last 18 or 24 months? Did you not see what was happening? Because obviously you're short-sighted. You're going to hear that a lot. Oh, no one's above the law. But except for us. Let's continue.
Meddling itself constituted a direct threat to American democracy, and that we're not cracking down on it as we should, and we're further at risk in future elections.
Well, what it does also is...
shut up. Here's something I want you to do. Let me ask you a question first. Would you want your news being given to you by the CIA? No, of course not. But you have gotten it from the CIA. Go look up Anderson Cooper's background. Just remember this whole thing I'm telling you about the incestuous nature of the media and government. Go look up who he is. Go look up who his family is. Go look up where he used to work. You're going to be baffled if you don't know right now. I bet you there's a lot of people in here who understand from the 17th letter who have taken the red pill like, yep, we know. And there's some other people in the chat right now going, what? What are you talking about? Go look it up. I don't want to be that person who just says stuff because it's easy. It's too easy for people to disagree. When you go look it up yourself and go, oh, here's his family. Oh, here's where he used to work. By the way, you don't ever stop working for the CIA. That's the first thing people need to realize. You don't stop working. You think Anderson Cooper's not tied into that? Well, I kind of gave it away there. Hey, you'll look it up.
Who's so obsessed with winning, it allows the Russians to win.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
You do not consider him a legitimate president. Why is that?
I think the Russians participated in helping this man get elected.
Do you believe Trump is a legitimate president?
What I believe is that there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by the Russian interference with the campaign, and because our intelligence community has unequivocally stated that Russia's intent was to influence the outcome of the election in favor of Donald Trump, I believe, one, that the investigation that the United States Senate is going to do into the relationship and interaction potentially between the Trump campaign and Russian officials, that's essential. Yeah. But I think there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by Russian interference with the campaign.
Director Clapper.
So this woman, who's a congressman here from Florida, obviously she's been there for quite some time, which in and of itself is probably evidence of election fraud, because I can't believe somebody would vote for somebody who doesn't understand that you wash your teeth, brush your teeth, not too far away from where you poop. I can't believe that people would vote for people like her over and over and over. I can't believe that people would vote for people like Adam Schiff over and over and over again. They're complete walking idiots. And yet in 2017, she was saying idiotic stuff back then. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Ashley's probably texting me, telling me, you got to take a break here. You got to get in the word from the sponsor. So hold on a second. Let me talk about this real quick, because I have to do these. I have to keep learning, not to keep talking and cut through. All right, let me ask you something. Do you feel like you're fighting a losing battle with your body? Well, sometimes people can feel that way. Like no matter what you do, the belly fat won't budge and your energy is just gone. Here's what most guys don't realize. Cortisol and estrogen are literally sabotaging your testosterone production. When stress hits, cortisol can drop your T levels by up to 40%. And that extra belly fat, it's converting your precious testosterone into estrogen, making everything worse. That's where this bundle from our friends at Sculpt Nation comes in, a testosterone optimizing stack. It's specifically designed to fight back against both these enemies. Test Boost naturally supports healthy testosterone production, while Burn helps torch the fat that's killing your hormones. Let me just tell you something. This doesn't necessarily mean you're having a problem with your plumbing. Doesn't necessarily mean that the crane's not rising when it's supposed to. What I'm trying to tell you is, as we age, as men, things start deteriorating. And I'm not at all a marvel of modern chemistry. I want to live long. I want to be strong. I'm working out again. Hope you guys are starting to notice the guns starting to reappear. Working out hard, getting stretched, doing all this stuff, not just to look good, but to raise my T levels as well. And it's nothing to do with sex. It's what men, the essence of who we are. The research on this is insane. The University of Michigan found that men with optimal testosterone actually earn a higher income. Think about that. Another study showed they're rated 36% more attractive by women. We're talking about a real measurable difference in how you look, feel, and then of course perform. Think about it. Better energy, less belly fat, stronger mindset. This isn't about becoming somebody else. Not trying to turn yourself into a bodybuilder. But I know, and you guys have to kind of agree, I end up doing these shows for 2 or 3 hours at a time. Sometimes two in a day, and sometimes 3 in a day. And I'm 64, about to turn 65. Something I'm taking must be working. It's about becoming the man you're supposed to be. And like I said, our friends at Sculpt Nation are offering you guys here in the Fanfare family an exclusive deal. Go to the URL below, sculptnation.com/Barry, for a discount, where if you purchase Test Boost now, you get Burn and another special surprise for free. That's https://sculptnation.com/Barry. All right, so let's continue. Well, let me stop since I stopped there, and let's take some. Oh yeah, Daryl says right here, testosterone is amazing. You know, with all these things that they never really told us about, and then as you age, and like, hey man, have you got your blood test? No. You might want to take your blood test. Are you sleeping well? Here's another testosterone killer. You want to keep being men instead of some, flabby, flatulent. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. I can't seem to get rid of 15 pounds. Then you got to work out as well. In addition to all the other stuff, you gotta, there's no magic pills. You have to work out. You have to do some weight resistance. Got to do it, guys. Got to do it. Let's see here. What do we got? Barry, which court would handle this? Does it go before a regular court, or would there be a military tribunal? That's a great question. Let's see what Tulsi Gabbard is doing right now is she's bringing the information out. She's turning it over to people who are going to make the charges. I wouldn't doubt that they also have military tribunals on the table and also regular court. It might be something they could take to a military tribunal and get it out of these Washington courts. Because otherwise they're going to have to bring it here in Florida. Who knows? They can't miss. They can't miss. They have to do this right away. And they got to do it the right way. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Cortisone also lowers female testosterone. I didn't know. Oh, okay. Military is the only way. I got to believe you there, too. Yeah. Cece says tribunals probably. Interesting. Tulsi the Queen. People are already saying Tulsi could be vice president to Vance in 4 years. Here, this is why she said, and she continues to say, traitorous conspiracy. I think that is the impetus. They're trying to move it over to this way, meaning to the military, so they can get away from these idiotic Washington judges. All right, so let's continue, because I got a whole bunch, and it's Sunday evening, and you guys probably got to go out to dinner and do stuff with your wives or husbands and kids and grandkids. So I'm going to keep moving here so we're not here for like the entire evening. All right, let's continue.
Says, quote, "Of course, the Russian efforts affected the outcome of the presidential election. Surprising even themselves, they swung the election to a Trump win. To conclude otherwise stretches logic, common sense, and credulity to the breaking point."
So as they were saying this stuff, they were telling people on the news, for you even to question it, you're an idiot. The psychological trauma they inflicted on America got to the point where if you even brought it up, if you even decided that this couldn't be happening, you were stupid. Of course Russia interfered in 2016. There's no doubt. And if you even question it, you're a moron. Don't you see? We're all talking about it. All part of that production. They all knew. They all kept right on point.
Sure. Do you believe the president right now has been an agent of the Russians?
Yes, I think there's more evidence than he is. Yes, and I think all the arrows point in that direction. And I haven't seen a single piece of evidence that he's not.
The American people deserve to know who they elected to be their president. They just
kind of sweet coming from this guy, huh? This is Bob Menendez from New Jersey. Bob Menendez is in jail right now for fraud and stealing and all the other stuff he did with the gold bars and everything else. But in 2019, he's standing up telling you that Trump's a crook. He stole the election. The Russians. It's all the Russians.
Deserve to know if he's in fact putting America's interests first. They deserve to know if Donald Trump is, wittingly or unwittingly, an agent for the Russian Federation.
The American people deserve to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. This is a serious national security investigation. 17 different intelligence agencies.
Again, the same people. Nothing has changed but the calendar. It's the same people. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Hakeem Jeffries, and of course you're going to see Chuck Schumer. It's always the same people. Nothing changes. It's just one big play. Swalwell, he's still there. It's all the same people. How is that possible? They get nothing done for their constituents, but they're always there. Their club membership never runs out. It's not even questioned. You know, you've seen during elections where they say toss-up races, but they don't even count some races because that's in the tank. How the hell you know it's in a tank? Are you telling me the entire population in Hakeem Jeffries' district is like, yeah, that's our guy? But nothing's changed in your neighborhood, so how could he possibly be the same guy? Swalwell, that's your guy? Debbie Wasserman Schultz? These people are idiots. But they always are there. The same faces.
Concluded that Russia interfered with our election, attacked our democracy in order to try and artificially place Donald Trump at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That's a very serious thing.
As you know, the IC was a coordinated product from 3 agencies, CIA, NSA, and the FBI, not all 17 components of the intelligence community. Those 3. We decided it was a conscious judgment to restrict it to those 3.
It was the consensus of all the intelligence agencies and law enforcement. 17 federal intelligence agencies.
So you caught the lie right there, right? Clapper says, no, it's just us 3. And then Obama and everybody else is like, no, it's everybody. Which is it, people? Oh, speaking of same faces.
Community and all of its component parts, 17 agencies.
17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed.
The intelligence communities have concluded, all 17 of them, that Russia interfered with this election. And we all know how that's right.
Senator Franken, there were only 3 agencies that directly involved in this assessment plus my office.
But all 17 signed on to that.
Well, we didn't go through that process.
Which I think
is. So, their guy, a guy on their team, tells a hearing of the Senate that, no, it was only 3, it wasn't 17. But 17. No, it wasn't 17, it was 3. But everybody, including Hillary, no, it's 17. And they just went with the lie. And all this stuff now that you can see, and you can see the picture, because many of this stuff you probably don't remember or never saw. And you're like, wait a second, man. These people were, they couldn't even keep it up with themselves. That's how bad it got. No. It's really 17. No, it's 3. But 17 people could have known about it, right? No, it's 3. Oh.
Of intelligence agencies have already agreed to say, and there's no doubt that the Russians did interfere in the election, and I think the interference, although not yet quantified, if fully investigated, would show that Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
You can run the best.
That poor man. You guys know that Jimmy Carter was worse than Biden at that point. And they got him out there, walked him out with the cane so he could say the line. Say the line, say the line. Oh yeah, Russia, 17 intelligence agencies, and just keep saying it. God bless his soul.
You can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you. Trump knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that he's an illegitimate president. I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did, and I take responsibility for those parts of it that I should. I was on the way to winning until the combination of Jim Comey's letter on October 28th and Russian WikiLeaks, guys over in Macedonia who are running these fake news sites. Certainly misogyny played a role. I take responsibility for every decision I made, but that's not why I lost.
Now, I must spend a moment on something that will garner too much attention over the next few weeks. Baseless claims by the president and his supporters that there's been widespread voter fraud and that the election was somehow rigged or stolen from President Trump. That kind of rhetoric is extremely dangerous, extremely poisonous to our democracy.
So 2020 comes along. Hey, man, we won. Winky, winky. And now that you guys are saying all this stuff about, you got cheated, you should never say that. But you just said it. You've been saying it for 4 years. But it's different now. Now we're going to make sure you can't say it. We're going to make sure if you say it on Twitter, bye-bye. We're going to make sure if you say it on Facebook, bye-bye. And we're going to make sure if you say it on YouTube, bye-bye. But it was okay for her to say it and all of you people to say it for 4 years. But now we have a question and you're not even allowed to talk about it. You're foolish. Man, those of you who have been watching this movie for, 8, 9, 10 years, 17 if you want to include the Obama years, you now realize, and I'm going to show you some stuff, you should now realize we've been played, we've been put in a blender, we've been lied to, all of it together. Just so their club can stay together and they can keep doing and stealing from you. Because now all the stuff that you know, Doge and what they took out and they found the money and all the gazillions that were going all around the world out of your pocket, now you know why it was happening. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out how people on the left, I'm not talking politicians, how people on the left don't realize now all this happened. Hey, you see how much they were sending to Ukraine? Oh, we got to give money to Ukraine. Do you see what they did with, sending money through USAID? Oh, we got to keep doing that. There's no end to them nodding in accordance with the Democrats. They don't care. They have completely, I've said it many times, most of these people are never coming back to sanity. Obama could be arrested and brought into the gallows and it wouldn't matter. They will not listen. So that's why, another reason why I think it's going to get ugly out there. They just shot a cop in New York. A newcomer felt it was okay to shoot somebody in the head. Man, when you think about this as a whole and, where we are and how most of the, not most, but many people in this population, they're never coming back.
It's all about normalizing our enemy's propaganda to stage political hit jobs on American candidates for office, for the highest office in the country. The Steele dossier, which, of course, by July of 2016, Brennan knew was Russian disinformation that was generated by Hillary Clinton to smear Donald Trump in order to sort of hide her own misconduct.
Hillary Clinton on the stump this week. We're joined now by her campaign manager, Robbie Mook. Thank you for joining us this morning.
The hand of the Kremlin has been at work in this campaign for some time. It's clear that they are supporting Donald Trump.
I had to interrupt because I'm seeing some stuff in the chat. People are like, what cop? All right, so just to give you, I'm getting text from everybody, just to give you guys the news on that. An ICE or Border Patrol officer off duty in New York City, a couple of the newcomers came up and shot the guy. He's in stable condition, but he was shot in New York. So Escape from New York just isn't a movie. It's going to happen, especially if they vote this commie in. So you can look it up and just put in Border Patrol shot in New York and you'll see it. And the guy he wasn't supposed to be here, the one who shot the cop. All right, let's continue.
Brennan and Obama and Comey, they inserted the Steele dossier into the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment as an annex. So what they did is they took Russian disinformation, made it into a U.S. intelligence product for the purpose of being able to cover themselves. If they were ever questioned about this nonsense in the Steele dossier, source to Russian intelligence, clear hit job against candidate Trump and then President Trump.
I'm sorry to break up this segment, but I got some breaking news, and it's just, This movie is continuing to get better and better and better. SV just sent me something. Oh man, you can't wait till you see this. Breaking news. Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign officials were in direct contact with the Obama administration to dig up dirt on Donald Trump, attempting to link him to Russia, RCI's Paul Sperry has revealed. This scandal runs deep. Clinton aides texted and emailed the White House, State Department, National Security, and more. If there are no arrests, nothing changes. I don't think we have to say if. I'm pretty sure we're going to see arrests. There's an avalanche of evidence coming out now. It just keeps coming. I haven't even gotten to all the stuff Paul Sperry has been saying. I'm going to get to that in a second.
Oh, look, this is a U.S. government document. It's from the intelligence community. It is from the 17 intelligence agencies of the United States government. Don't ask me about this. It's been vetted. It's this way of very cynically covering up a horrendous crime and normalizing it retroactively.
Why do we have a State Department? Why do we have all these intelligence agencies? It's to, to protect America, protect American interest, and to keep dialogue open between our adversaries, our allies, anyone in between. So the whole idea that General Flynn was doing something wrong was ridiculous. He was doing exactly what he should have been doing at the time. He was the incoming national security advisor. His job, his role, was to help to coordinate that whole strategy across all of government to try to do what? Prevent war.
January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again.
We were ready for change, and we needed to get things moving. And one of the things that I was looking to do was to dig in and take a hard look at some of the programs that the U.S. intelligence community was involved in that I felt were useless, costly, and corrupt. And in fact, I sat through a presentation with the incoming Vice President, Mike Pence, in the transition headquarters. As we're being presented it, I started asking questions like, well, okay, this program that's been going on for a long time, what has it accomplished? Oh, we're gonna have to come, I mean, then you get this. Again, these are senior guys. These are like the top people in the CIA. They're like this, and they're like, well, we're gonna have to come back and we're gonna have to give you a separate briefing on that. I ended up calling to have that briefing again. The next time I called for it was in the first week I was there, and it was me as a national security advisor now inside the White House. I got the same briefing, but this time they sent a whole bunch more people, right? It was like they knew that, because now I'm starting to dig in.
And we begin this Sunday.
All right. So that was the genesis of when they took him down. I just wanted to address a comment. I thought I did already, but Nancy says, but they've been getting away with all this for years. As I mentioned earlier, the reason why I'm pulling your comment out again is because there was nobody in place to prosecute before. You have to remember that now, with all your disappointment or disillusionment by saying they've just been getting away with it, because there was no way to prosecute this. Let me tell you again, from 2020 to 2024, it was never going to get prosecuted. It was never going to happen. Biden and Kamala were in charge. Not going to happen. From 2016 to 2020, the snakes surrounded President Trump. They didn't let it happen. So now is the first time that all of this can indeed be prosecuted. So they got away with it for years because there was nobody minding the store. As evidenced even by the Wall of Nigerians sending out billions of dollars and don't question anything. There was nobody there. And when President Trump got into office in 2016, they made his life holy hell and they surrounded him with snakes. Nope, can't look in that drawer. No, don't look in that drawer. Oh, you can go here. Oh, don't look here. even the people that he appointed, which were recommended to him by other snakes. See, right now, Mike Pompeo, nah, he's not a friend. Gina Haspel, nah, she's not a friend. Rice Priebus, nah, not a friend. These people were not there to facilitate his agenda. They were there to facilitate the deep state. So Patty, or Nancy rather, that's why there have been no arrests, because now, just now is it becoming that way. Yeah, as soon as Michael Flynn started asking questions, they started coming after him. James Comey bragged and said, yeah, I knew he was new, he didn't know really what we were doing, and so I came over and we trapped him. They had to get him out. They had to extricate Michael Flynn out of all of this. All right, so that leads us to today. So today, after the last 2 days of going on television and telling everybody that all of this was treasonous, Tulsi Gabbard went on Maria Bartiromo's show this morning. We're going to show it to you in its entirety. She even dropped some new nuggets. But before I get to her, I want to show you some of the stuff earlier. What SV had sent me, when SV sent this to me, he was talking about a guy named Paul Sperry, which, by the way, if you're not following Paul Sperry, you need to. All right, so let me show you a little bit what Paul Sperry has been posting all day. He came out with this one actually 2 days ago. Obama invited into a top secret situation room meeting on rigging Russia intel versus Trump, the pro-Hamas Palestinian leader or guy Mahar Bitar, who is the leader for Students of Justice in Palestine, which advocates for Israel's destruction. Bitar later helped Adam Schiff impeach Trump. So these breadcrumbs all start coming together. Then he posted this. Well, not then, but I got a couple of things to show you from Sperry. That's his actual profile. Okay, breaking. This is today at 1:12. New doc reveals Ben Rhodes. Okay, let me stop. If you don't know who Ben Rhodes is, you're going to have to go back and look at Ben Rhodes and what his involvement in all this was. Ben Rhodes was one of the Obama sycophants who also latched on to Hillary's campaign, and he was involved knee-deep in this. And by the way, he's also an Islamist. I don't know where they find all these white guys that were Islamists, but they found him. So anyway, new doc reveals Ben Rhodes attended high-level December 9th, 2016 White House Situation Room meeting ordered by Obama to cook up intel against Trump related to Russia. Rhodes is suspected of later leaking unmasked intercepts of General Flynn to the WAPO. His brother David's now taking over CBS News. You see that? You see how I keep telling you about the incestuous nature of this? So Ben Rhodes' brother is going to be the head honcho at CBS News, and Ben Rhodes was back there trying to hook up and destroy Michael Flynn. You need a scorecard for all this crap, don't we? It's absolutely crazy. Then we got this one, breaking, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, and this was at 2:15, long after the Maria interview this morning, which I'm going to show you, said, quote, this is huge. We have whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork, including intelligence analysts who worked on Obama and Brennan's fraudulent ICA, that's the intelligence assessment, and are disgusted by what has happened, and their affidavits will be provided to the DOJ. They should put a subtitle, The Rats Are Jumping Ship. I said this to you yesterday, that what you're going to begin seeing now are people trying to cut the best deals for themselves before this boat goes under. And so whistleblower, i.e. stool pigeons, are coming out of the woodwork. Hey, you got them. My name's going to be in here somewhere. Let me tell you what I know. That's specifically what this is saying. They're calling them whistleblowers, but you guys have to know at this point, people are starting to tweet like a bird, and I don't mean like on X. I mean like tweet, save my butt. Coming out of the woodwork. Those of you guys who said that before, this thing has been going on, nobody's gotten arrested, you haven't seen this. This is the next stage of that movie, and it's getting good. Next thing here, or not, this was earlier today. And before I was going to tell you some information. Following release of new docs showing Obama's spooks manufactured a 2016 Russian intel to paint President Trump as compromised, Mark Alford, who serves on the House Appropriations National Security Subcom, told me this is bigger than Watergate. So now some of the people, the Republicans, are looking at this stuff and going, whoa, you got all this? And it's funny, the first comment, the very first comment, those of you who know what this is. And he highlights bigger than Watergate, biggest scandal in U.S. history, crickets, fake news, desperate to shelter, define shelter, a place giving temporary protection from bad weather or danger. I'm not going to go into all of it, but this is the kind of stuff that we were seeing on a daily basis, and people are waiting to hear the words. And that's what happened. Paul Sperry continued. This is from earlier today as well. From a Pulitzer-winning former Washington Post investigative reporter, quote, "The Russiagate documents that came out in the past week are jaw-dropping. It's rare to see such a slam dunk evidence of conspiracy." He said it. We got it all. We just couldn't have anybody look at it. We couldn't have anybody go into a court. Nobody wanted to act on this. President Trump was talking about this in 2016. This isn't new stuff. You're absolutely right. But now we've got someone who's willing to show it and bring it out into the public. And so some of you knew this, but a lot of people didn't. They never heard it before. And it's blowing their minds. So much so, ABC News this week completely blacked out the Russiagate story, while CBS News Face the Nation mentioned it only to defend what Obama's spooks did and to bring on a Democrat, I'll show you this interview, to bash Tulsi. NBC News Meet the Press, they just went to a golf tournament. They didn't even bother having a news station show this morning. I knew this was coming. I told you yesterday, Sunday shows, yeah, watch what happens. And they did exactly what I thought they would do. Don't want to talk about it. Nope, not going to see it. All of this happened. All right, so that being said, all this being said, Tulsi Gabbard, as some of you or most of you may know, she went on Maria Bartiromo's show this morning, and I want to show you what she said. And there's a couple new nuggets in here.
Morning with the biggest political scandal of all, collusion and conspiracy at the highest levels against President Trump. Now, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard revealing what this audience has known all along. A cabal of high-ranking officials led by then-President Barack Obama, CIA Director John Brennan, and Hillary Clinton, among others, took the world on a wild goose chase to try and take down their political enemy, Donald Trump, no matter the casualties along the way. DNA Tulsi Gabbard is now calling for prosecutions, revealing declassified documents from the Russia collusion made-up investigation, which she says detail a treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest level of the Obama White House to stop incoming President Donald Trump. The cabal included Barack Obama, John Brennan, James Clapper, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Jim Comey, and Susan Rice, who pushed a made-up story that President Trump colluded with Russia to win the 2016 election, so the cabal would not lose their grip on power. All of this exactly as then Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, Judiciary Committee member John Ratcliffe, and President Trump himself told us so many times from day one.
What that is it's the original intelligence, the original reasons that the counterintelligence investigation was started. Now, this is really important to us because a counterintelligence investigation uses the tools of our intelligence services that are not supposed to be used on American citizens. So we've long wanted to know, well, what intelligence did you have that actually led to this investigation? So what we found now, after the investigators have reviewed it, is that, in fact, there was no intelligence.
As a former federal prosecutor, my opinion is that declassifying them would not expose any national security information, would not expose any sources and methods. It would expose certain folks at the Obama Justice Department and FBI and their actions taken to conceal material facts from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court.
How involved was John Brennan?
Totally involved. He was totally involved. John Brennan was one of the architects, in my opinion. You look at Brennan, you look at Clapper, you look at them all. But ultimately, the president knew everything. The president knew everything. President Obama and Vice President Biden, they knew everything.
And Comey and Brennan and Clapper, they all were terrible, and they lied to Congress. They spied on my campaign, which is treason. They spied both before and after I won.
I love how you guys do your homework. Because as I'm showing it right here, and I mentioned Bo Asperger, I'm like, go look up what else he's done. Somebody went and looked it up. Love it. And Fred Latimer said, Bo Asperger approved the FISA warrants. Again, this incestuous nature of all this stuff, it's the same people. They're still there. They never go away. They're like bad pennies. And they've been entrenched in this, why they call it the deep state. And some of you guys right now are going, wait a minute. Bo Asperger did the FISA warrants, the same guy who has been fighting Trump every step of the way? Yeah, same guy. When you start digging in this stuff, it'll blow you away, because you start seeing this stuff and go, wait, this doesn't make any sense. And you now can be an investigative journalist. That's why I said, go look it up. Go look up where Anderson Cooper came from. The information's out there. You just need to put it all together. Look up who Susan Rice is married to. I just told you about Ben Rhodes, and his brother is going to take over CBS News. Go look at all this stuff. And then we've been cooked. The die has been cast on America for quite some time. It was all planned and put together, and it's not me just making it up. You just have to start uncovering things. And you're going like, wait a second. That's the same guy I looked at over here. Oh, that's her name. It's all connected. And so when people get upset and are disillusioned, like, oh, we don't know, we'll see arrest. And you have to take this. Seriously, you have to take this entire thing as it just came out. If you use that perspective of you're just finding this out now, things will be completely different from you. Because if you're looking and saying, well, 2016, nothing happened, it's here we are 8 years later, 9 years later, that's because of what I tried to tell you with who was in charge. If you look at this as just now it's a crime has been revealed, then you're going to feel different. At least I hope you would.
Joining me now is the woman herself, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Director, thanks very much for being here this morning.
Good morning, Maria. Thank you.
What was the most damning thing that you learned after looking through all of these declassified documents?
Maria, the implications of this are frankly nothing short of historic. Over 100 documents that we released on Friday really detail and provide evidence of how this treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama just weeks before he was due to leave office, after President Trump had already gotten elected. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern every single American, because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. What we saw occur here, as the documents we released detailed, was that we had a sitting president of the United States and his cabinet and leadership team, quite frankly, who were not happy with the fact that President Trump had won the election, that the American people had chosen Donald J. Trump to be the next president, commander-in-chief of the United States. And so they decided that they would do everything possible to try to undermine his ability to do what voters tasked President Trump to do. So creating this piece of manufactured intelligence that claims that Russia had helped Donald Trump get elected, contradicted every other assessment that had been made previously in the months leading up to the election that said exactly the opposite, that Russia had neither the intent nor the capability to try to, quote unquote, hack the United States election for the presidency of the United States. So
now, that is very important, because in order to commit a crime, you have to have the ability to commit the crime. And so they knew back in 2016 they didn't have the resources or capability to even do what they were accusing them of doing. So that is the first lie. The person you're looking at couldn't break into the house. They're in a wheelchair. They're blind. There's something. They can't do what you're accusing them of doing. And they all knew it. They knew that Russia and Putin did not have this capability.
Effect of what President Obama and his senior national security team did was subvert the will of the American people, undermining our democratic republic, and enacting what would be essentially a years-long coup against President Trump, who was duly elected by the American people.
Yeah. Now, I want to go back to something Devin Nunes said, which is exactly what you're saying right now. And he said, after all of our investigation, we found that there was no intelligence. There was no intelligence actually indicating that Trump colluded with Russia. And what happened? Because there was a presidential daily briefing that was presented to President Obama every day, and every day it said the same thing. We have no evidence of collusion. We have no evidence that Russia did this with Donald Trump. So what happened? How did they actually get the public to believe, and half the public believed, that actually Trump did collude?
You already know the answer to that question. Because at that point, how would you sway the public into believing that President Trump was a Russian stooge? You need the media. The media would have to keep hammering this over and over and over. So that tells you they were complicit. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be a money trail that says, hey, you do this, you do. Why else would you pay Rachel Maddow $20 million a year? Somebody answer me that question. $20 million? Yeah, okay. Or same thing with Anderson.
Well, this is the thing, Maria, when you look at the assessments that were made, not just by one element of the intelligence community, but in my role as the Director of National Intelligence, I oversee 18 different intelligence community elements. And in the months leading up to the November 2016 election, the intelligence community agreed that there was no intelligence that reflected that Russia was trying to hack the election in favor of either candidate. The evidence showed, the intelligence showed that, again, Russia did not have either the intent nor the capability to be able to impact the outcome of the United States election. So it was very striking when we look back again at the documents that I declassified and released that shows there was a shift in early December, the first week of December. Again, another document was produced by the intelligence community, a president's daily brief that was consistent with every other assessment that was done previously leading up to the election. Russia did not, this is after the election now, did not attempt to affect the outcome of the American election.
All right, so she's talking about the PDB, which is the code for Presidential Daily Briefing. And in the Presidential Daily Briefing, which she has now gotten copies of and everything else, and she has published much of what was in these PDBs. So Margot Cleveland, who does a lot of legal work, she also began putting it out there. She goes, Obama ordered the fraudulent ICA, which is the Intelligence Community Assessment on Russia influence in 2016, before the IC pulled the PDB that Tulsi is talking about. Declassified emails show working on a deep dive of release and just discovered this detail. So here's one of the emails, and as you're reading through this stuff, it's probably too small on your screen, but it says, for clarification, the ICA probably won't be done until mid-January. We are tentatively shooting for 9th of January to send a possible draft, possibly final version of POTUS. We are hoping for a final agreement on the scope out on the PC on Friday. The room's thoughts, and they list all the rooms where that was worth going ahead with the PDB if possible now to provide our current understanding of what happened during the election, and that worst case the ICA has some language and an associated brief note explaining any changes between the products. It's okay if you really need to run them simultaneously, but recognize this is an issue of high level of congressional and White House interest right now, and to do below would postpone the publication for a month. So they're talking about it and going back and forth, and I won't go through this entire thread because she's got like email. This is what came out. This is what Tulsi has put out there. Until now, everyone, including me and you, assumed Obama ordered the ICA during the 12/9/16. But no, this email from the day before 12/8 referenced that the ordered ICA, nothing goes to Obama 1/9, and 12/8 reference coming 12/9 PC meeting. And you can go through this. So if you want to go to Margot's profile, she's got all these things in here, one after the other, in terms of here's what it is, here's what it says. Comey directly intervened to sideline it. Here's the trail, 12/8/2016. They're all talking about how they're going to do it. So you can spend the time. I won't keep you here, but look at all this stuff. Look, all the documents are right here. So if anyone ever tells you, oh yeah, that's just Tulsi saying something, there's the actual documents. They're right there for you to review yourself. Go to Margot Cleveland, and here's her profile. Let me just go here so you guys can see it. Margot, Prof. MJC Cleveland. There's your homework. Go ahead and go look all this stuff up, and you guys will see it yourselves.
That was never published. Hours before it would have gone into President Obama's President's Daily Brief, it was pulled by a senior level intelligence official saying that they had to pull it because they had received new guidance. The very next day, this meeting was called, a National Security Council meeting, bring together all of the senior leaders of President Obama's cabinet, and the topic that was put forward was a sensitive matter. The tasks that came out of that meeting was coming from President Obama directing the intelligence community, then Obama's ODNI director Clapper, to produce a document, to produce an intelligence assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow affected the outcome of the election that had already occurred, electing Donald Trump to the presidency. This document that they published in January of 2017 was the foundational groundwork that they continued to reference over and over and over again to enact this years-long coup against President Trump.
Now, I know that Devin Nunes came out with the Nunes report and a lot of other reports after that to indicate everything that you're saying. And I guess the worst of the reports, the real evidence, is the reports of most recent, right? The last reports are the worst reports that we're going to see. And I understand that there is more, perhaps, that you are going to come out with next week. And I was told that that's why they raided Mar-a-Lago, that they want.
I think Maria's been watching my show. I'm pretty sure I told you that. I'm pretty sure that I said that to you. Probably, I don't know, months ago. And I've continued to tell you, they weren't looking for any classified documents. They were looking for this stuff. They were looking for this stuff that could completely make this stuff implode because President Trump told me he had it. I got it all. It's not where you think it is. You think I just got it in Melania's underwear drawer? You idiots. That's what they were doing. And I'm like, this is the first person I've heard besides me say that. That's why this place was raided. That's why they came down and wanted to kick in the doors with amphibious vehicles and everything to trap and get inside of Mar-a-Lago, because it was of the utmost importance to get these documents. They know at this point what this means. And the fact that he somehow had stuff where he said he had it, now they're realizing, oh crap. And so, thank you, Maria. Thank you very much.
To find the Trump-Russia documents that indicated there was absolutely no collusion and that there was no evidence to even start such an investigation. But Trump didn't have it there in Mar-a-Lago, but that's why they raided his house in 2022. Is that correct?
I don't have the details on the specifics of the Mar-a-Lago raid itself. Those are within the possession of the FBI. But there's no question in my mind.
Who would that be? If they're in the possession of the FBI, that means Kash and Dan Bongino. And so now you're starting to see what they've been working on all this entire time. And people are screaming at it and all this stuff because they were Epsteiniacs and they didn't realize that what was going on here.
That this intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered be published, which contained a manufactured intelligence document. It's worse than even politicization of intelligence. It was manufactured intelligence that sought to achieve President Obama and his team's objective, which was undermining President Trump's presidency and subverting the will of the American people. So yes, next week we will be releasing more detailed information about how exactly this took place. And
all right, so there was Maria was like, hey, wait a second, wait, more? So next week, meaning, I always consider Sunday the first day of the week. So this week, she's about to drop more information, which had the already tight sphincters tighten up even further. There's more coming out. And you know who's doing this, right? You know it's President Trump. Hit him. Hit him now. Hit him again. Because everything that she's dropping, he already knows. Pam already knows. Probably Kash and Dan already know the schedule of when we're going to keep hitting these things. The people who don't know what's going to come are the people who were involved. They know it's coming. They just don't know when. And it's going to cause more and more whistleblowers to show up. Grab your chair before the music stops, because when the music stops, no deals. And so here we come with another bunch of information sometime this week. It's just drip, 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 drip. Just keep hitting them, which tells you how much stuff she must have. And so they know what she must have. Remember, they were the ones who are involved. They were the stuff that she's showing already, the stuff that I just showed you from Margot Cleveland. They know what kind of communications were going back and forth. They know what was taken. They know what Trump has. They're not stupid. Now they're caught. Now there's no way out. And now you can see people in the media wondering, is my name on some of this stuff? Are they tracing the money I got to a wire transfer so I could talk about this? Right now, I'm telling you, there are a lot of people with some really, really tight sphincters.
The extent to which this information was sought to be hidden from the American people, hidden from officials who would be in a position to do something about it. And that's really the point here that I think is most important, Maria, and you said it in your opening. Accountability is essential for the future of our country, for the American people to have any sense of trust in the integrity of our democratic republic. Accountability, action, prosecution, indictments for those who are responsible for trying to steal our democracy is essential for us to make sure that this never happens to our country again.
Yeah.
All right, so she mentioned the big words, indictments. I don't know who she's intending for this information to get to, but you have to understand she's communicating not just to the audience, not just the people who are seeing this. She's letting other people know indictments. They're not playing. It's coming. It's not an if. It's just a matter of when. So at this point, if you know something, now might be the time to contact your lawyer and belly up. It's coming. Don't let me release your name. Paul Sperry mentioned David Rhodes or Ben Rhodes. Maybe she's gonna mention Ben Rhodes. This is going to get really good.
And I want to get to that right now because I've heard talk of a criminal referral. Are you referring this in a criminal matter?
We are referring all of the documents that we have uncovered to the Department of Justice and the FBI for a criminal referral.
Yeah. And do you believe that we will see prosecutions? I mean, our audience wants to know where this story goes from here. Will we ever see anyone held accountable for this incredible lie on the American people?
I will do all that I can, and we have whistleblowers, actually, Maria, coming forward now after we release these documents, because there are people who were around, who were working within the intelligence community at this time, who were so disgusted by what happened. We're starting to see some of them come out of the woodwork here, because they too, like you and I and the American people, want to see justice delivered. So we're going to...
You ever go to church? Hopefully many of you do. And at the end of church, no matter, well, not Catholic, but if you go to a Baptist church, if you go to a Protestant church, at the end of every church service, it's what's called the invitation. And with the invitation, they say, would you like to accept Christ? That was an invitation. Hey, we're going to see some, people get arrested. I can't really speak for that, but you know what? We're getting lots of people who are coming to us right now. Lots of people, a lot of whistleblowers coming forward. Come on forward. Come. We're waiting for you. That was an invitation. She knew exactly what she was saying. She knew what words she was saying. And she's telling other people, come. I'm giving you the invitation.
Provide everything that we have, everything that we will continue to gather to the Department of Justice for that direct intent and that direct purpose. There must be indictments, those responsible, no matter how powerful they are and were at that time, no matter...
She noticed that. See, that was something, again, she knows what words she's going to say. She got held up on that word. She said no matter how powerful they are or were, how powerful they are. That means it's people still in government. Obviously, one could think Adam Schiff, one could think Pelosi, one could think, I don't know, Swalwell. That was a little bit of a hiccup in her smooth delivery. The entire time she was talking to Maria, she didn't have that hiccup, no matter how powerful they are or were. So that means there's still moles here, and they know who they are. Unless, of course, it was just a hiccup, but I don't think she did that by accident.
Who was involved in creating this treasonous conspiracy against the American people? They all must be held accountable.
So do you expect, just to be clear, do you expect indictments and prosecutions?
I'm not a lawyer. In my view, we have the evidence to be able to move forward and bring about justice, yes, to prosecute and indict those responsible.
That was a yes. Do you expect? Yes. I'm not a lawyer. It's not me. But yes, I expect number one, we got the evidence. We got it. We have it all. And yes, I expect people to be arrested. You haven't heard anybody say that before. So those of you who are disillusioned or disappointed, she just said something nobody has said. I expect people to be arrested.
I want to really put a spotlight on who's responsible, because we've talked about the highest levels. Barack Obama, John Brennan, James Clapper. But we also have to look at things like, you just found all of this. Why didn't Durham find it? Why didn't Mueller find it? Okay, what about the Pfizer judges? Because when you look at this seditious conspiracy aimed at overthrowing the U.S. government and an elected president, you have to consider also the black robes. You've got to look at the Pfizer judges. And how about the fact that the judge who gave a slap on the wrist to Kevin Kleinsmith, who was the FBI agent who lied on an official document about Carter Page, who was spied on for a year, that judge is Judge James Boasberg. He's still at...
Yeah. Oh. Bo Asberg needed to change his name to Bo Haddon Asberg, because this is so big. This is so big. Now, her answer here, I'll add to it, but Maria's question is, why did none of these other people find it? Why did Durham and Mueller and, how come nobody found it before?
His desk, and he's still trying to stop Donald Trump's agenda. So what about the broader group of people that are also involved?
Maria, this is of such historic consequence that it cannot be limited to one or two or three different people. You just outlined the implications and the effects of what actually occurred, and I think you're really putting into a clear picture what we are referring to when we refer to the deep state. It is very far-reaching. These are people who are intent on undermining the will of the American people and trying to ultimately put themselves above our democracy. And this is why it's so important that we continue down this path. We continue to stay very focused. I question the same things that you're asking here. I don't know how it is. Yes, I put my team on this. We've been working on this over the last few months. I've been in this role as Director of National Intelligence for just about 6 months. I don't know what excuse there is for those who supposedly investigated this previously, whether it was Durham or others, that they were not able to put together the dots and ultimately show the truth to the American people. President Trump has delivered a maximum transparency mandate, and this is exactly what we're doing. The American people need to see the truth, and we're going to continue to do that every single day that I'm here.
So what she just said there, again, I should put like a little banner, opinion. What she just said there is, I know these people were in on it. I know Mueller. He's jellyhead right now. And I know, excuse me, I know that Durham didn't go all the way. But you know what I'm doing? I'm going to give you guys, before I say you're in on it, I'm going to give you, Durham, the opportunity to come in and clean your name, because you get one shot. Everybody knows you knew Gina Haspel. Everybody knows that you knew Mike Pompeo. Everybody knows at this point Bo Asperger is an agent. They all know. Now it's just a matter of, now that you know we're coming for you, what are you going to say? Who are you going to talk to? Because at this point, if that was me, or just think about it, if it was you, if you were Durham, if you were Pompeo, if you were Gina Haspel, and some of these other people, and you knew, and you just heard that, what would you be doing? You would call your lawyer and go, what do I got to do? Well, they got you. You know they got you. You know they got you. Yeah, they got me. All right, so what do we got to do? Well, before they come knocking on the door, maybe we need to go and try and cut a deal. And hopefully President Trump will, listen to you. Depending on if you can go up to the top. Give up Obama. This thing is not over by a landslide. There are so many different players involved that are going to have to come to the table, or they're going to be led away. And they're giving them the time. Come on in. You know what you did. Everybody knows what they've done. The lights are being shown on these people right now. There is no ducking. Notice how quiet everybody was today. If I was being accused of treason, the very first thing I would be like, no, I didn't do it. Nothing. Zippo. Because lawyers are like, shut up. Shut up. You can't go on TV. You can't go out there and let people know anything. So it's about to get really good.
Equally outrageous was the fact that we had the handwritten notes of John Brennan. I reported on it at the time. The CIA reported to President Obama that the Russians were aware that Hillary Clinton had come up with this idea to blame the Russians and working with Trump to win the election. And we actually saw his handwritten notes. So there's that evidence that, again, all of those people who were supposedly special counsels, independent counsels, blew off, right? Robert Mueller, John Durham.
That's right. I really cannot fathom. There is no rational or logical explanation for why they failed. The only logical conclusion that I can draw in this, Maria, is what you're implying here directly, is that there was direct intent to cover up the truth.
And there it was, because Maria didn't really say that. Maria kind of implied it, and Tulsi took it from there and went, yeah, you're right, they covered it up, meaning they were involved. They were part of it. I know it, you know it. Let's just call it what it is, Maria. Yeah, they're all dirty. And I know they're dirty. They even know they're dirty. President Trump knows they're dirty. They're all scum.
What occurred and who was responsible, and the broad network of how this seditious conspiracy was concocted, and who exactly was responsible for carrying it out.
So at the end of the day, we need to look at Pam Bondi. Is that the person who at the end of the day is going to bring us accountability? Pam Bondi?
Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, it is their responsibility to gather all of the evidence, both that we have released, the facts that have already been known previously, the information that will continue to come out, and move forward with this prosecution and these indictments.
You saw with the...
She didn't say yes. That was the closing of that interview, and she didn't say yes. Which leads me to thinking military tribunal. Hey, is Pam Bondi the one we're going to look for to see if she does the indictments and prosecutions? Well, it's going to be Kash and Pam, and we're going to get them and compile all the information. For who? Special counsel? Is that what we're going to hear this week? That there's a special counsel named? I think so. I think at this point that's what we're going to see. I think this information that she and Pam and Kash are now compiling are about to be dumped on somebody else's desk who's got nothing else to worry about but go after this. Remember this week when it comes out. Pretty sure it's going to be a special counsel. I would almost bet on that. I'm pretty sure. Let me take a second before I continue and talk to you guys about Patriot Addict. Patriot Addict has a new knife. This new knife that they're using, not using, but putting out, is the Trump signed knife. There it is, pretty cool. It looks similar to the red knife that you guys have been seeing for quite some time, but this is called the Trump signature knife. It's got the same features and everything as the other knife. Here's the Trump red knife right there, and this is the Trump presidential knife, the 45-47. You can see them both here, same size. Essentially, it's the same knife. And the difference is this knife here, I like the sleek color. It's a black knife, and it's got President Trump's signature etched in right here. And it's sharper than the red knife. It's really, really sharp, and it's got all the same things. It's got the quick release action on it. It also has the window breaker, and it has also the seat belt cutter in case you get stuck. It's the same weight. It's just the same, and the same thing that you don't have is that this thing is free. Free. Here, this knife is free. All you've got to do is go ahead and click on the QR code or take a snapshot of it, and all you've got to pay is shipping. Shipping, I believe, is like $15 bucks, whatever. The knife normally retails at $70, but you get it for free. Just go to the QR code, go to the site once it takes you there, and apply your 100% off coupon for people who are just watching this video, people here in the fanfare community. You get it for free. Seriously, no subscriptions, no fees, no ongoing charges. One payment for the shipping is all you have to pay. And it's a free, good knife. Very, very, very sharp. I hope you guys will take advantage of it. Just go ahead and click on the QR code right there. All right, so in the same interview, we had, same show, Byron Donalds and Anna Paulina Luna came on, and they decided they were going to add some more information.
Report that Tulsi put out, we're talking about there needs to be criminal prosecution and arrest. Lying under oath, putting out a false intelligence report. That's a violation of 18 U.S. Code 1001 that comes with a 7-year prison sentence and up to $250,000 fine. But we're talking about something more nefarious than this. I think that this is a perfect example and reason why there needs to be FISA reform as well. As you know, Maria, that false intelligence report resulted in FISA courts issuing a warrant to illegally surveillance the president of the United States now. And what I can tell you is if we don't stop this, if we don't actually say this will not be tolerated, this is not a Democrat or Republican thing. This is about the health and the sanctity of a constitutional republic. And so there needs to be arrests. This is not partisan. This is simply illegal what they did, and we're simply upholding the law.
I mean, it's just extraordinary. How do you believe they got away with that? Byron, what about that? How was it that this cabal of senior people in the Obama White House was able to convince so many people of this lie when they had no evidence whatsoever of it?
Well, they got away with it because once they leaked these false narratives and false reports, you had big media organizations who just went lock, stock, and barrel, did not fact check, did not go and do the extra work, did not do any due diligence whatsoever. They just followed and towed the company line. And then you have the deep careers in the intelligence community who either they were afraid of being fired or having their clearances revoked, or B, were so concerned about a Donald Trump presidency that they felt it was okay to concoct false information into the American people, into the body politic. So Anna is completely correct. There need to be arrests on this matter. People need to go to jail on this because this is about the republic. This is not about one president. It is about the presidency and the continuation of our country.
It was the
so you're seeing now that some of the newer Republicans, I don't even know where Byron Donalds was in 2016. Anna Paulina Luna, she wasn't around in 2016. These are the people who are going to be carrying the torch. The Lindsey Grahams of the world, I don't know. Haven't heard anything from Lindsey. Haven't heard much of anything from anybody except the newer people. They're the ones out saying, we got to get this done. We got to see people arrested. This guy here is in with President Trump's communication team.
For everything that we're seeing for the past almost 10 years. You started with the Russia hoax. That led to the indictments. That led to the impeachments. That led to the lawfare that we saw for years. We all witnessed it. And you know who was in bed with the Democrats and Obama? The media. This was the same media that was pushing this entire narrative that the president was somehow a Russian asset.
All right, so now this guy has been sent out by the president from the White House himself. President Trump congratulated this guy for bringing this stuff out. He actually posted, thank you, I'm see if I can find it, but he actually said thank you for oh boy, I got hold on, I got a break here. All right, wait a second. Oh my goodness, you guys have probably seen this meme today, but President Trump just posted it. He posted a video of Barack Hussein Obama getting arrested. The video shows Obama being hauled off by agents right in front of Trump at the White House. Then he is sitting in a prison cell. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this is what President Trump has just posted. Let me go back here because it's too big. Wait a second. But there's the video, and he shows, oh my goodness, he is trolling like the only person he can troll, only person like him. And he's got a picture of Obama sitting in a jail cell. Wow. Serious calm there.
We all know it was false. We all knew when he was president of the United States what he did to Russia. He gave Ukraine Javelin missiles when Obama gave them pillows and blankets. President Trump was the person that was taking in all the shots from the Democrats from 2016, from the second he came down the elevator. And we all knew it was BS. And now we have Tulsi Gabbard that's able to put out the facts. And this is why if you look at the confirmation hearings, who got it the worst? Tulsi was one of the people that got it the worst because they knew exactly what she would do. Uncover the biggest scandal in politics, the insane, asinine Russian dossier that we all knew was false, but led to lawfare and indictments and the raiding of his home. Every American should be up in arms right now.
Harrison, you said it right there. We all knew. And in the last hour, we were discussing this, and we all said we all knew. We knew it, but the media was covering for them, and we couldn't get anyone at the FBI. They all, they all wouldn't admit guilt. They basically, everybody lied. What do you do in that case? What's the way to handle this going forward? Is it prosecutions? Is it a special prosecutor? Is it trying this more in the media that wants to keep covering it up? What do you think?
Well, you tried on the media, and guess what the media did? They hired all these people. Brennan.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you. How did McCabe end up at CNN? How did Brennan end up on MSNBC? They became part of these networks. The same people they should be covering and investigating, they hired. So they are complicit.
These people, they're all hired, MSNBC and CNN. So the media is going to cover for their colleagues, of course, but we have a DNI and we have a Department of Justice and Attorney General Pam Bondi who's going to look into this and hold people accountable. I am sure of that. I worked for Pam Bondi when I was 22 years old. This is a woman that takes crime seriously. She is not going to abdicate her responsibilities because she doesn't want the Washington Post to say a bad thing about her. She's going to go over it because we have to deliver justice. We have to give the American people their due, because we're the ones, the will of the American voter from 2016 on, who voted for President Trump in overwhelming majorities, had to deal with this. Our country was so divided from these investigations. Like I said before, it was the predicate for everything. Obama's hands are on this. And what is he doing now? He's over here with his wife doing a podcast, walking without flip-flops on the beach, acting like his whole career was everything and a bag of chips. It wasn't. It was the most corrupt presidency we've ever seen. We thought Joe Biden was bad. Now we know who was behind it all. It was Barack Hussein Obama, and we need answers.
Yeah, first of all, my hat's off to Tom.
Wow. And the thing you have to remember when you're seeing all this happen is none of these people are going on television without the okay of the plan. That Trump has said, you do it. Go for it right now. Go for it. Bring it out there. You do this. You do that. Again, you're watching this all play out in real time. We're seeing the movie on a big screen. But the players, portrayers are all been decided, and the timing has been decided. As they're saying this on television, you know right now, in order for Tulsi Gabbard to show people these things, the other people behind the scenes have had this and have been working on it for quite some time. This isn't something that just happened 2 days ago. They have been working on it, and now they decided to go public. And they did it in secret. There were no leaks, nothing. And now, boom.
Tulsi Gabbard. I think Tulsi Gabbard just demonstrated a level, as I said this morning, of courage, commitment to being just absolutely transparent, which is what this administration has said from the beginning, and just getting to the truth. This very important meeting, it looks like, on December 8th is really the piece of data that I think has now been exposed to really allow everybody to connect the dots. As I said early this morning on my X post, basically I laid back out the plan, which was 8 years of Obama, 8 years of Hillary, and Steve, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation. And so once, enter summer of 2015 and so on and so forth, and Donald J. Trump wins the election, as you well know, in November of 2016, then, all the gates of hell were unleashed by Obama. And that's what we now know. Now, it's not just Obama. Of course, it goes back to the summer of 2016. And actually, what we're learning from this is actually goes back to late 2015, probably December 2015 timeframe. So what I want people to know from this is that there are going to be other names that have never been really exposed, people over at the National Security Agency, others inside of the FBI, others in the CIA that are going to be in big, big trouble here. Because
all right, so that is what I was looking for. I wanted to hear what he was going to say. And he didn't go 2016. He went back to 2015. So now imagine the size of this net. We now have undeniably at least a 10-year sized net. And this entire thing President Trump had 4 years in captivity, per se, to work on all of this with whatever people he brought in. These people are caught. They never thought it was going to happen. You were never supposed to see all this stuff, and it's going to be very hard for them to work their way out of it, which is probably why they're quiet as hell right now. They're trying to show that they're living their lives, but they got to be terrified. And with Michael Flynn saying right now, oh, there's more people. I bet you those are some of the people who are coming forward, those whistleblowers that are coming out of the woodwork.
Now that we know where it began, and it really did begin with the direction and intention of Barack Obama, that is going to open up so much more evidence. And as I know Tulsi has been doing for a number of months now, they've been culling through all this evidence. And that's why you saw recently the open investigation on Comey and Brennan. That's just the first shot across the bow for what I'm calling either, you can call it a counterpunch or you can call it a counteroffensive. Needed to go through this because we're at our 250th year mark. And for us to survive another 250
Amen.
years, the American people,
Amen.
particularly the American people, needed to have us go through this. I hate to be at the fulcrum of it, and same with Trump. I know he didn't want to be there either. You too, Steve, and others, Peter Navarro, another one. There's other people that got hurt by this, Roger Stone. So all I'm saying is I do believe, and I've had to kind of come to grips with this, that I believe that our country, our nation, if we're going to continue to be a beautiful constitutional republic that we are for another 250 years, we needed to go through this pain. And we needed to demonstrate to the American people that there is evil in the world. There's definitely evil right here in our country. So I really believe now, looking back, and again, I to a bit tongue in cheek, I say they picked the wrong Irishman, and they did, because I think that had they gone after somebody else or allowed somebody else to be in a position, maybe that person wouldn't have been strong enough to be able to withstand the body blows that I know that I took, and certainly Donald Trump as well, because I don't want to discount what he and his family have experienced, nor do I want to ever discount what my family and I have experienced. But I do believe that there is some faith-based reason, and maybe it is. Maybe it's one of those sort of God knows, but our nation needed to go through this, and now we know, and we are going to recover. So the action, the sort of the action plan coming out of here, Steve, is pay attention, focus on what we need to be doing. So we have to stay heavily involved.
Hang on. We're only going to recover. We have to take this to its ultimate conclusion. The only way we're going to recover is you have to identify everyone associated with this. You have to get all the facts on the table. It has to be adjudicated. They have to be held responsible. And I think the charge here is going to be treason.
Can you imagine? Like I said, we're looking at a 10-year net at this point. 10 years of possibly longer. Like I said, Obama was president in 2008, so 17 years of crap. Everything they tried to do to America. Go back and look at all the things. And what's really weird is you're seeing this stuff come out. They haven't even got to the 2020 stuff yet. So as good as this movie is, the sequel is probably going to be better. None of this stuff right now are they talking about 2020. This is all 2016 stuff. Then you got 2020 and everything that happened from China and all that stuff. So we're not talking that this thing is going to end anytime soon. It is a huge, huge prosecutorial process here. And I just wanted to make sure as I was closing, you understood that. This is just the stuff way back. The last 4 years at 2020, what they did, they haven't even started that yet. So sit back, because President Trump on his 6-month anniversary has so much more in store. The trolls can't even keep up with this. Oh, we're cult members. Oh yeah, we're cult members. Okay. We know who you are. We know you're being paid to infiltrate different things. And here's something else you have to be very, very careful about. and I really mean this, and I'm not going to denigrate anybody by name, but there are a lot of people who weren't around back in 2015 and 2016. There are a lot of people who are, what do they say, are doing things right now because it's the in thing to do. And a lot of people weren't subject to all the stuff that happened to so many people back there in 2016. People who lost their livelihoods, like General Flynn. People who had their businesses destroyed, like me. When Facebook said, nope, you can't come here anymore. Do not be, you used to sell those Trump hats and stuff, so you got to go away. Hey, X, it used to be Twitter, and they bounced people like Robin. I could sit here and spend a half an hour and name to you so many people who were in the trenches back in 25 and 2016, some of whom still haven't gotten their handles back. I had Alfredo on here. We talked last Thursday. I think it was Thursday. It was an awesome conversation. And he knows he's been in the trenches. A lot of the people who are popular weren't there. In fact, a lot of the people who are popular didn't even support Trump until after he got elected. Go do your research. They supported DeSantis and other people, and then coalesced because obviously their bread is buttered and they have to do things to promote President Trump. But as soon as he's out of office, you'll see what they think. So now it's cachet. It's impressive to start pushing all this stuff, but go back and look at some of the people, if you can find them, who were in the trenches in 2016. And then some of them aren't there anymore, or they've had to come up with different handles. And those are the people who stayed true the entire time. And like Michael Flynn said, suffered because of our support for President Trump. I don't need any sympathy. I just want to make sure you understand who you're following. I want to make sure you understand who's got this nation's best interest at heart and didn't show up when it became fashionable because they could make some money off of it. I don't have any problem with people making money. I'm not saying that. I bless people to be as prosperous as they possibly can. What I'm questioning is their thoughts and their faith in this whole thing. That's the difference. Not about how much they're making, not about how they're making it, but are they doing it because they believed in Trump from day one? And you start looking around, you'll see that for sure. Brian Newland says I need a 50-gallon drum of popcorn. Oh yes, that's funny. Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, Jenna Ellis. She jumped when she got attacked. She turned her back for a while there. Cat Snow, very good question. I didn't know Tom Cotton was a swamp creature. Yep, look what he did today. How they now want to rein in the power of the DNI, Tulsi. So I wonder how many of them will ask themselves of dealing with the humiliation of what they did. Remember asking at a Senate hearing about military tribunals. Absolutely. I have a little bit more here I want to show you because one Democrat did actually come out and say something. All right. So let me show you this one Democrat who came out, because the interesting part about this is he loses it. He completely freaks out. I don't think the person on CBS expected this.
A bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee investigation found that the U.S. intelligence community's assessment of Russian interference in the 2016 election was correct. They deemed it to be so on a bipartisan basis. I'm saying that because today and yesterday, the director of the intelligence community, Tulsi Gabbard, has said that she is referring for prosecution former American officials she accused of treasonous conspiracy, a years-long coup against President Trump, because they assessed Russia had tried to influence the election. This is weeks after the CIA director issued a report critiquing the tradecraft that went into that 2016 assessment. Is there any legal basis for any kind of prosecution here?
All right. So Margaret here, who's been a commie lover for quite some time, decides she wants to talk about this and make it apparent that it's all BS. It's just Tulsi Gabbard saying this stuff, as if these documents weren't specifically that she dropped, weren't from the Obama administration. Here, look. So now Jim Hines, Connecticut, I can't believe these politicians from Connecticut are so whacked. But listen to this crap.
None. Absolutely none, Margaret. What you saw from the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was not just a lie, but a very dangerous lie, because when you start throwing around language like sedition and treason, somebody's going to get hurt. Now, you pointed out that the Senate committee, then led by Marco Rubio, a Republican and now Secretary of State, found unanimously that Russia meddled in the election to try to assist Donald Trump. John Durham, special counsel appointed by Donald Trump, investigated this, found that the Senate report was correct. Now, what Tulsi is doing, it's a little sleight of hand, but it's worth focusing on. She is saying that the Intelligence Committee early on said that the Russians could not use cyber tools to mess with the voting infrastructure, the machines that tally our votes. And that was true then, and it is true now. Though the Russians tried to break into a couple of states, election technical infrastructure, they didn't do it. But it is well known and well established that the Russians hacked into the DNC and undertook...
Well known and well established by whom? Again, another practice speech that she obviously teed up for him, and he's not giving anything. Tulsi dropped evidence. He's just like, don't even look at it. It's all a lie. Oh, it's these maggots.
A number of other influence operations, including buying reams of Facebook ads to discredit Hillary Clinton. That is not in contention, right? And what is horrifying about this...
Yeah, actually it is. Reams of Facebook ads. I used to buy Facebook ads. Buying Facebook ads is not trying to influence an election. Buying Facebook ads to the tune of like 10 grand? Yeah, you're reaching, boy. You didn't even say you didn't even mention the amount.
Whole lie out of Gabbard is, number one, it puts people at risk. And right now, the mouth breathers on MAGA online are just going out of...
Right there lets you know they're freaking out. Right there. This man, I think he's a senator of a United States Senate, sorry for being redundant, just said that you people, you mouth breathers from MAGA are just gonna, come like flies to poop here. You're a mouth breather. If you had any scruples, if you had any true information, if you really felt confident, why would you need to insult Trump supporters? We're all mouth breathers now. And of course, if this person on CBS had any integrity, she would have said, oh, come on, James. Senator Hines, we can't call people that. Nope, she didn't say it either. You mouth breathers. That's when you tell you got somebody. When their only response at this point is to insult us. Yeah, let you hear some of that again. What are we on? 52 seconds. Let me go back to, okay. Listen to him say it again.
President Trump, because they assessed Russia had tried to influence the election. This is weeks after the CIA director issued a report critiquing the tradecraft that went into that 2016 assessment. Is there any legal basis for any kind of prosecution here?
None. Absolutely none, Margaret. What you saw from the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was not just a lie, but a very dangerous lie, because when you start throwing around language like sedition and treason, somebody's going to get hurt. Now, you pointed out that the Senate committee, then led by Marco Rubio, a Republican and now Secretary of State, found unanimously that Russia meddled in the election to try to assist Donald Trump. John Durham, special counsel appointed by Donald Donald Trump investigated this, found that the Senate report was correct. Now, what Tulsi is doing, it's a little sleight of hand, but it's worth focusing on. She is saying that the Intelligence Committee early on said that the Russians could not use cyber tools to mess with the voting infrastructure, the machines that tally our votes. And that was true then, and it is true now. Though the Russians tried to break into a couple of states, election technical infrastructure, they didn't do it. But it is well known and well established that the Russians hacked into the DNC and undertook any number of other influence operations, including buying reams of Facebook ads to discredit Hillary Clinton. That is not in contention, right? And what is horrifying about this whole lie out of Gabbard is, number one, it puts people at risk. And right now, the mouth breathers on MAGA online are just going out of their minds based on a lie. And number two, the intelligence community is full of very, very good people who do their jobs every single day. And now they're watching their leader do something that each and every one of them knows is dishonest. And it is a really, really bad thing for the safety and security of the American people when that dynamic is out there.
So what happened to the whistleblowers? So the whistleblowers who are coming forward, you just said that everyone else in the intelligence community thinks she's crazy, which tells you how many people in the deep state are still in the intelligence community. So that's what he just said.
That Senate report is online. The findings are there. But I understand your distinction there, and it's an important one in influence versus physical hacking.
By the way, Margaret, if I may, you asked about the referral. Here's the test. This is
now watch this. This guy just loses it in these last 30 seconds. He just starts screaming at Margaret. Even though she's been trying to cover for him, he's going to lose it.
All over again. Criminal referrals. We're going to prosecute Barack Obama. Treasonous and seditious. Here's the thing, and I hope that 4, 5, 6 weeks from now, don't take it from this Democrat. 4, 5, 6 weeks from now, let's see if this administration, Tulsi Gabbard accusing a former president of treason. Let's see if they bring charges. They won't. They won't, because there's not a judge in the land, not a single judge, who will treat this with anything other than laughter that will be heard from the Atlantic to the Pacific in this country. So the test of this is 4, 5, 6 weeks from now, is the DOJ bringing charges? And the answer to that is no. And now we're going to be an Epstein world where, wait a minute, treasonous conspiracy by a former president. Why isn't the Department of Justice bringing charges? And the answer to that question is that it is a lie.
Damn, dude. Get off the caffeine, bro. Wow. See, one of the things he said there, which goes back to what Tulsi said, is 4 or 5 or 6 weeks if they're not bringing charges. I think he's right. And you, at this point, should begin thinking he's right. Because 4, 5, or 6 weeks, basically a month and a half, we don't know who's going to be working on this case. This could end up being a special prosecutor. If it's being given to a special prosecutor, he knows damn well nothing's going to happen in 4 to 5 or 6 weeks. So he's probably trying at this point to bait you. Hey man, it's been a month and I don't see anybody arrested. What are you going to do? It was all a lie. Then why are you screaming like you're crazy? Why are you screaming like a crazy man? And why were you the only one? The only person to go on television? And also, why did you go with Margaret Brennan, who was just sitting there letting you say whatever you want and trying to cover for Obama? She may be a defendant as well. We shall see. Oh my goodness. Great body control in his words said it all. Yeah, as soon as he called people mouth breathers, he was done. He was done already there. Let me see. They already have, should go to the military. Oh, and he talked about there are no judges that were going to be in on, that tells me military tribunal. So you're telling me you've already got the judges who are going to laugh at this from coast to coast. Oh, what about, oh, sorry. I'll be right back.
God ain't close.
Sorry about that. Midas didn't like the delivery guys. Dinner was coming to the house tonight. But anyway, so who knows who the judges are going to be and who's going to be trying this? We don't know. We're going to have to watch, but don't expect anything to happen in the next 4 weeks or so. Crowd was really big. Okay. Yeah, we'll need military tribunals. I think that's where it has to go. I think that's where it has to go for sure. All right. Yeah, he's going to have to eat his words. You for sure for there. So tomorrow, just let you know, in case you guys didn't see earlier, 10 o'clock for those of you guys who want to show up. We're going to be here with a prayer breakfast with Pastor JJ, and you guys are all welcome. And if you need a prayer, come get one. If you want to give a prayer, come give one. So 10 o'clock tomorrow for that. I'm looking at Ashley texting me. So 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're doing a prayer breakfast, and then I'll see what President Trump's schedule for tomorrow. Let me see if he's posted it yet. Let's see if they've posted anything for tomorrow, what's going to be going on. Nope, nothing posted as of right now. So I don't know what his schedule will be like tomorrow. In any event, I have a show. We're going to plan on going 10 o'clock with the prayer breakfast, and then 1 o'clock will be my regular show. And then, of course, we do the Rumble jump over later that night. I think it might be time for another movie night, given all this stuff that's happening. I got so many movies that are talking about what happened in 2016. So maybe tomorrow, depending on which movie I can get approval for, we'll do a movie night. All right, so craziness, absolute craziness going on. I hope I was able to give you guys some information, because there are so many new people who weren't here, weren't part of everything that was going on back in the day. And then the other thing you have to remember is that this does not even touch on at this point what's going on with the 2020 stuff. This is just 2016, so it's about to be a tough go for Democrats here. It ain't going to be easy moving forward with them at all. All right, so let me go ahead and do some super chats, and yep, got the screen ready. Frank Masso, thank you. This fanfare family is great. Been here since the rally days, and it's only getting better. Great job, Barry. Shout out to the mods as well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Naomi McCormick, remember President Trump and Obama chatting it up at Jimmy Carter's funeral. Trump knew then he's so good, just biding his time. Yep, I remember that. Rick Williams, D&I Galbert didn't drop a bombshell. It was an ELE, extinction level event of the Democrat Party. The chosen one said on 10/8, we are just 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America. Beverly Litton, the traitors and left-wing media are claiming fake news. They have to. They have to, but it's hard to, if you go follow Margot Cleveland and you have actual copies of the documents, they're sitting right there. It's not fake. That's going to be very hard. Elena, you always deliver, Barry. Your efforts are so appreciated. Polls mean you care about your trolls. You care about your audience. Much love and respect. Thank you very much. Dave Rutan, thanks, Barry, for standing strong and bringing the truth. You're welcome. B.F. Thompson, thank you very much. Mary Boswell, thank you. Elena, a.k.a. Neely, language is returning or else. Yeah, I'd love to be able to just talk like we're supposed to. KRO, hey, brother. The last words of Nessun Dorma. Vanish, O night, set stars. I will win, I will win, I will win. And he played that often. Frank, Washington's football team should be called the Washington Swamp Creatures. Yeah, pretty much would be dead on. Dave Rutan, Republicans and Democrats are all part of the same snake pit. The level of sickness being exposed is worse than we knew. Yeah, I mean, these people are all in there to save their own butts. R2 squared, are they all evil and corrupt or just useful idiots? Hard to believe people do things from an evil place, but the evidence points evil. That's what I believe. Born on the 4th, Barry, thanks to you and your awesome team for bringing us content that isn't found anywhere else. God's blessing to you and the wonderful fanfare chatter boxes. You know, I try to, when I'm putting my stuff together, I'm trying to dig and find and put something in a workflow that you guys can understand, so it's not just regurgitating the news of the day, but telling you what's happened in the past as well. That's so thank you for recognizing that. Mama Tracy, aren't treason charges such posed to be handled by military tribunal? I'm going to look up the actual law on that. I'll have that for you tomorrow. Elena, a.k.a. Neely, Satan is the father of all lies. They are fork-tongued demons. Exposure must result finally in arrest. Agreed. Beverly Lipton, why does Trump still trust Radcliffe? Because I don't think Radcliffe was a bad guy. I think Radcliffe didn't understand his powers at that time. And Tulsi has jumped in. Obviously, she has freaked people out because they're trying to, rein her power in. Dave Rattan, I can't believe they can spew the crap they do with a straight face. Look right in the camera. They do. Mr. Fisher, many deep state, or is that a woman? Many deep state are definitely suffering with serious trouser chilling. Oh, I love when Maximus said that. Yes, I stole the term and trademarked it. Jeanette Barry, I believe that treason is handled in military courts. I hope so. Rick Williams, various leisure effort, research, and overwork. The biggest scandal in American history on so many fronts, media playing a huge part, these sociopaths, liars, scumbags, vipers, and snakes. And it's been going on for quite some time. Lee Herring, hey, did you guys notice all the 17s dropped during the enemy of the 17Q has it all under control? Where we go one, we go all. Yep. RT squared, again, Hillary has been involved with every corrupt scandal since Watergate. Well, Watergate should have been too young, right? Wouldn't she? But ever since then, yes. Susan Brooke, Barry Maria Alvarado Gill is a state senator from California. She is more than happy to come on the show. All right, I'll get Ashley on it. Marie Alvarado. Hold on. Let me write that down. I'm not sure if Ashley will see it. 1 second. Marie Alvarado. Okay, we'll get in touch with her. I tried to put her email on where not let me. Ash can look her up. Okay, we'll look it up. Vincent, Barry, I would like to get the ball rolling to show support for that agent from our family. See if you can make it happen. Thank you, Barry. I will do that. I will definitely do that. Find out who it was that got shot. And I don't know if they released his name, but we'll find out. No one can stop what's coming, Jeanette says. Nope. Frank Masso again. I have faith that Pam can work these cases and finally get justice. Agreed. R2 squared. Watergate was really perpetrated by Democrats too. And a lot of the same people. Carl Hassenauer, using the example of 17 years since Obama was elected, say children that were 10 to 13 years old then are now 27 to 30, enough time to indoctrinate them. Per rush, young schools full of mush. Yeah. Neo, 2016 turn, remember, all plotted against him. Rats are running. We will see Justice Trump. Yeah, I agree. Beverly Litton, networks will bury this. They can't. They will try, but that's where you come in. You can't let it get buried. At least this time, they can't shut us up. They may try on here. They may try on Facebook, but they can't shut us up on X. And we'll see if they do anything here. Then it's a Rumble story from here on out. Lynn Hengel, the amount of damage these people have done is unforgivable. So many of us knew this was happening, but we're helpless. Trump said, I am your retribution. Benedetto, if this done right, this could be the end of the deep state and the Democrats and the deep media. You're right. Dave the Patriot, don't forget Obama flew to all the countries President Trump went to, undoing deals, greasing palms. How brazen this non-American was. Mountain Goddess, Obama is the commander-in-chief of the military. Does that mean he should be charged under a military tribunal? I hope so. I'm going to dig deep on that. Gene Lee, two guys from Kannapolis, North Carolina. You had videos, I believe it was Timothy and Grayman. I want to meet up with locals to fight for midterms in North Carolina. Do you think you can help us join together? Okay, so Timothy McMurray and Grayman, I believe, is Christina Mozart's uncle. So, yeah, we can talk about that. There's, I thought that was her right there. That's Lisa. My political tie to the best political podcaster in the biz. Thank you very much. Susan Cummins, Jesus died for me, President Trump lives for us. Very well said. Dave the Patriot, Ben Dykes' grand jury has been assembled. We'll see. Would love to find out for sure. Dave Rutan, this goes back at least to 63 when they took out JFK. Cat Snow, Barry, can you tell us more about how Tom Cotton is causing problems? I will bring that up tomorrow, that they're trying to rein in her power. Myrna Walton, that's a good question. Where is that? Who was behind Obama? That's a deep state. Mark Green, Barry, looked it up. Tribunals are for military and non-citizens. Treason cases would start in, you guessed it, federal district court, which means they can't do it in Washington. So much follow-up. Poe FCR from the Russian Open, barely a whisper about the Epstein list now. On another note, stacking slow and steady. 140 ounces of silver, 2.5 ounces of gold. Very well done. Drew, what's the probability of that Congress congressional bill going anywhere? Well, I think if somebody puts their name on, well, nowhere. Because even if it got to the president's desk, he's going to veto it, and they're not going to have 67 people to override it. Sherry Clem, the dominoes are beginning to fall. Where was that go? Why did Marcy say that Russia was involved? Why did Marcy? Not sure what you mean. Mary Kellums, I meant Marco. Oh, okay. Because Marco was on the committee back then, and when they said it was, see, Marco was just reading what was there, and he just, so now the different Marco. He didn't say Marco feels that way today. Beverly Litton, because Marco was snowed too. Beverly Litton, they think they will drag us out to the end of Trump's term. No way. Gina Duncan, Hillary Clinton on the Judiciary Committee inquiry staff during Watergate. What? Wow. I did not know that. Hillary was there in the 1973 on the committee. Wow. That is something. Wow. I told you it's all the same people. They just keep getting recycled. Man, that's absolutely nuts. I did not know that. Wow. All right, everybody. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Prayer day. Prayer breakfast. See you then.
you.